is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eckler.
Only 2 rounds remain in the Northwest Majors, and with the last of the oval rounds gone, the tides are turning. However, the contenders for the crown have narrowed to 2, with Toby Butler and Brian Barnes being the only drivers with a mathematical chance. Can Barnes close the 10-point gap? We'll find out as we get ready to watch the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth tonight are Bill Zahn and Sean Ambrose. As always, our cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard and are directed by Giancarlo Lenzi. Sean, Road Atlanta has seen sports cars speeding over its red clay hills for decades. Tell us a bit about the track.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Here we are just north of Brazelton, Georgia, here in the United States of America, here for the Petit Le Mans. And we've got a great track, 12 turns. This asphalt surface is hard on tires, lots of undulation and elevation changes here for you. A very, very tricky set of S's, and 2.54 miles long today. We'll go for 2.5 hours around this thing, and it looks to be a great race.
Absolutely, a very challenging one. With qualifying just wrapping up, let's go on board and see what it's like around in one of these GT3 cars. All right, we've got Kevin Brown behind the wheel of the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Turn 1 is going to be a fast right-hand sweeper, but despite the fact that it heads uphill, it's easy to understeer wide, and if that happens, expect to slither off into the concrete barrier. Then right away, you've got turns 2 and 3. It's completely blind at the apex and prone to lap 1 pileups. Passing here is ill-advised. As soon as you're done with that, though, you plunge back downhill through the S's. We need a very specific line through here to set up for turn 5. This is another uphill corner, but watch out for the curb on the inside because grabbing too much of it will unsettle the car, and there's very little room on either side to save it. Now we're heading towards turn 6. There's plenty of banking in this corner, so it's faster than you'd expect it to be for a 90-degree right-hander. But before you know it, you've hit turn 7. This is easily the most critical corner on the track. As you can see, it dumps you onto the backstretch, which means your corner exit will be of the utmost importance. Botch it, and you'll be a sitting duck to the draft the whole way down the straight. Not only that, but at the end of this is the heavy braking zone for the chicane of 10A and 10B. The rest of the course is very technical, so expect most of the pass attempts to take place here. The tricky part is, the switchback means it's possible to defend from either side, so guys will be fighting hard to retain position. It'll take respect from both drivers to make it work. After that, we head back over the crest, fly through the final corner, and finish a lap around Road Atlanta. As you can tell, it's going to be difficult for guys to keep it between the concrete barriers around here with them being so close to the track. Qualifying has wrapped up, so let's go through the order real quick. Jimbo Pfeiffer does sit on pole. Ryan Huff is in second, followed by Josh Gardner in third. Brian Barnes will be starting on the outside of the second row in fourth, with Carl Burke in fifth. Corey Peters is in sixth, William Fletcher seventh, Matthew Rogers eighth, Aaron Stowe ninth, and Jim Packnan in 10th, Bill.
In 11th, it's Stephen Paulison. 12th is John Richard. I'm going to go with the French pronunciation. In the Baker's Dozen spot, it's Kyle Murphy. Tracy Reynolds, Wayne Hutchinson. In 16th, Andy Webster. Behind Webster is Christopher. I'm going to go with the French again, Beaufiect. 18th, Bruce Lawson. 19th position is Ray Nelson. In the 20th is Ray Fournier. That's where we're going. I like Fournier. I'm going with Fournier. My director says phone you. All right, I'm going to wrap these up. I'm not going to throw these over. I'm going to finish up the last ones. 21st, Ryan Jones. Howard Wendell is in 22nd, and I'm not sure if we have Christopher Staburn actually qualified. Joe?
Yeah, he's not showing up on the grid at the moment, so I think he may be a did not start once this thing gets underway. However, Bill, one other thing we need to talk about, because we got a pace lap before we go green here, is the championship. We are down to this round and one more after that. What is the overall looking like?
Well, it's interesting. The overall standings, you have Toby Butler is your leader, and he's currently leading by, it looks like, about 9 points. Now, right behind him is Brian Barnes, but Butler is exclusively an oval driver. But I've heard rumors that there's a solicitation to get him to come in and learn to turn right a little bit, and he may show up like a character in an Agatha Christie novel and come in and surprise everybody in the last chapter. So let's keep our eye on that for the coming weeks. Carl Burke is in 3rd place, Stephen Paulison is in 4th place, and wrapping out the top 5 is Joshua Gardner.
Absolutely, and wouldn't we like to see a bit of Poirot around one of these races at some point? We also have a road championship. They split these into road and ovals, and since all we have is road rounds left, that's the only one being contested since oval has been wrapped up. Obviously, Butler winning over there. But David Warner, interestingly, is winning on the road side, with Barnes having run a few more ovals to put him down on the roadside. Josh Gardner does sit in 2nd in the championship. He is a single point behind. Brian Barnes is just 3 points behind Warner at 74 points. Then in 4th, we have Carl Burke at 73 points. Then a little bit farther down in 5th is Jimbo Pfeiffer. And still in contention mathematically is Ryan Huff in 6th at 51 points. So this thing is still up for grabs on the road championship. Cars are underway. You can see on your screen around the pace lap. Then in a little while, we will get green flag racing for 2.5 hours. Don't forget, during those 2.5 hours, you can get a hold of us and ask us questions live during the race on Twitter at GSR Channel. You can also leave us comments in the YouTube video, since we are broadcasting live on YouTube. And we will try our best to try and answer those on air if we get time, since we'll have plenty of that during this race. Also, you can follow us on Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel, and you can stay up to date in the world of our broadcasting, find out what's going on and what's coming up. Well, as they head towards turn 6 here, that uphill right-hander, I have to ask the traditional question of each of you guys. Sean, who's your pick for today?
Man, I think Brian Barnes got a good shot tonight in that number 4 machine. Wouldn't be surprised to see him at the top of the podium.
Absolutely, and we've seen a few other guys who have shown up in previous GT3 rounds who've fared well. Bill, who are you looking at?
Well, you know, Joe, I'm going to do this like my wife picks football winners with the prettiest helmets. I'm going to go with the prettiest car today. I like Brian Barnes. That's a beautiful car. Blue and yellow machine up there close to the front. So let's keep an eye on him. He'll be easy to keep an eye on with that beautiful paint scheme.
Well, the one I have got my eye on, or at least I did, was Ryan Huff, and I think he might not be out there. So I'm not sure what happened to him. I know he won I believe he won in the last GT3 round we had at Spa. So unfortunately, I guess he might not be showing as well today. Must have some connection issues. We got just one more corner to go. You can see pace car coming up over that infamous hill, down that fast right-hander. Jimbo Pfeiffer has control. He gets the green flag. We are starting for the Petit Le Mans at the Northwest Majors. Jimbo gets a huge gap, and in fact, already we've got Josh Gardner under threat from Brian Barnes, but they slot in single file around turn 1, Sean.
Yeah, and man, it's pretty exciting here up front. They're really up to speed real quick on this track as they come down the S's here. You know, really, everybody's kind of spreading out right now, single file going down in there, but that's probably a good thing because, man, those cars have a lot of torque and get to that throttle a little too quick, and you're going to be flying through one of those gravel traps and maybe into a wall.
Absolutely. In fact, we saw it quite a bit during qualifying and practice that cars were having trouble keeping out of the barriers if things started to go wrong. And look at Josh Gardner already closed the gap and is back up on the rear spoiler of Pfeiffer in that orange and blue BMW. So keeping him in check for sure. Carl Burke, in the meantime, is under threat from Brian Barnes, who is down in the 4th spot in that blue and yellow machine, as you mentioned. So as they come down the backstretch, this is going to be the best passing opportunity to look at Barnes, already looking on the inside of Burke into the chicane. It's a long race, though, and it looks like, Bill, he is going to wisely back out of that for now instead of being aggressive.
Yeah, everybody was nice and patient. You know, they know it's a long race, so the back of the field was clean, and let's let everybody settle down a little bit here before we start racing.
Well, it seems like there's been enough of experience in these guys to know that endurance racing is not about rushing to the front right at the beginning, that they're showing some patience, which is good to see. Interesting thing about our leader, Jimbo Pfeiffer, who you can see on our or actually we're watching Brian Barnes. There's Jimbo Pfeiffer. He notoriously said that he thought oval racing was easy, and everyone thought he was in for a rude surprise when we went to our first oval round at Daytona. Lo and behold, he didn't win it, but he came away, Sean, with a 2nd place finish. So I guess he didn't have to eat his words.
Yeah, I guess not, huh? Maybe he wasn't giving himself enough credit. I'm looking through the field right now, and really there isn't anybody racing for position yet. Nice to see these guys settle in. They know they've got a long one ahead of them, so I think everybody is kind of guarding against getting that car out of shape and off into the grass or one of the gravel traps right now, which is probably a pretty good strategy this early in the race. There's plenty of time to make a move and work your strategy, your pit strategy and your tire strategy.
Exactly, and your pace is going to show eventually. If you have trouble getting around someone, you mentioned pit strategy, you'll get an opportunity. I see a car slow on the track here. That is Josh Gardner. He must have had a mistake somewhere. Let me see if we can figure out what happened. Looks like he had a half spin. Yeah, Bill?
Yeah, he's in that beautiful black and blue car there. Yeah, he just spun it, and now he's looping it around as we speak.
So Josh Gardner is back going again as they head through turn 3, now into 4, and through the S's. We were talking about those S's, especially in the McLarens, Sean, before the race, that it's quite a ride in these cars.
Yeah, well, the McLaren especially. We got a car around here. It looks like our leader is around, Jimbo Pfeiffer. Was that Jimbo? No, maybe that was
that's
Ryan.
Carl Burke. It looks like that is Carl Burke. Let's look at the replay, see exactly what happened. That is in turn 5. It's one of the trouble areas around here. We're watching Carl head now down, or no, he's heading up over the hill through 3 in this replay. Now he's heading down the hill through the S's, and the action happened in turn 5, which is coming up. It's going to be a left-hander here. There it is. And a very common mistake. Just rear got away from him, and it looks like he kept it out of the barriers. I don't think he touched anything. Yeah, he just continues on. So Carl Burke once again. But that turn 5, Sean, very, very difficult in just about any car you try.
Yeah, and we were just getting ready to start talking about it right there. And off goes Carl Burke. I ran laps in the McLaren yesterday, and I got to tell you, I drove it for an hour and a half, and it just seems like you've got to be really late getting to the power coming off that 5 because it just whips you around. As we see Matthew Rogers off the course now.
So,
so I'm going to excuse me. Did I misidentify a car? As you were talking about a car spinning at the same time, Tracy Reynolds in the black and blue car that I was talking about spun it. So I apologize there. We were looking at 2 different spins at the same time.
And Matthew Rogers, in fact, was off the course. But right now, we are looking at the blue and yellow car. Which is that? That looks to be Brian Barnes, actually. And we've also, Corey Peters. So Corey Peters is in the white and yellow machine, that BMW at the end of the train, Brian Barnes, and the blue and yellow BMW, and then up at the front of the those train of BMWs is Josh Gardner and the black and blue machine. Lots of blue going around out here. So a little bit of a peek from Barnes down into the chicane, but nothing doing. More of a psychological move from him. Right now that things are pretty settled in at about 4 laps in, Jimbo Pfeiffer is our leader at the moment. Brian Barnes is sitting in third place, actually. It's changed around. Josh Gardner is in second, Brian Barnes in third, and Corey Peters is sitting in fourth, with William Fletcher rounding out the top 5 a bit of a ways back. But right now, this competition that we're looking at on screen between Barnes, Gardner, and Peters is the close one up top.
Yeah, Joe, Jimbo is done something very reminiscent of a current Formula One driver in Sebastian Vettel, in the way he has just attacked this field. And now the first 5 laps of the race, working on 5 here. I mean, he's almost 8 seconds to the good right now on those guys. I would say probably in the next 5 laps, he keeps going the way he's going, he's going to be close to 20 seconds ahead.
And Gardner was his lone competitor really for the first bit until he had that half spin coming out of the chicane. So Gardner's going to have to work his magic to try and catch up to him. Right now he's doing so. You can see him starting to stretch that gap to Barnes. He's got about 7 seconds last time by at the line. We'll have to watch and see if he's able to close in on him.
Yeah, the rest of these guys are back here fighting. Gardner, Barnes, and Peters, and as long as they continue to fight. Although I see Gardner is starting to pull out a little bit, but he's still got Barnes and Peters in his mirror.
Yeah, he has to keep from making those mistakes. You saw how much ground it lost him, and it put him in a position where he had to go defensive instead of offensive. So that's not what he's going to want as this race progresses, and we watch him work his way through the very difficult turn 3. So as the race continues, let's talk about these 3 different cars. Actually, I believe 4 different cars we have on track. With Josh Gardner, you can see in that BMW. What other cars do we have out there today, Bill?
Joe, I was going to ask you about this. It seems like to me, I'm going through this, it seems like we have nothing but BMWs out there. Seems to be the car of choice. Do these guys, I'm going to ask, in broadcast school they teach you not to ask a question your fellow competitor or commentator may not know. But do you know if each race these guys get to choose their own vehicle, which one they want to race?
Yes, they since there's the Northwest Majors is unique in the fact that it's basically a world tour series. They race different cars at different tracks and obviously different disciplines with both oval and road. So they have to be allowed pretty much to choose different cars each round. And you can see Jim Pankin there in the roof, or actually, no, I'm sorry. Actually, yes, that is Jim Pankin that we are looking at there in that yellow-rimmed, very brightly yellow-rimmed roof car, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, for those not familiar with cars, it's basically a Porsche. Isn't that correct, Bill?
Yeah, I get chastised by Kevin Brown, our director, for calling it a Porsche. But it is a Porsche. It looks like a Porsche. I'm calling it a Porsche.
Looks like a duck, smells like a duck.
That's right. Kevin's not here today. We have Giancarlo Lenzi as the director, so I'm going to call it the Porsche.
Absolutely. Well, it certainly looks as pretty as a Porsche, and Jim is doing quite good handling it around there. Now we've got a few more roofs with Wayne Hutchinson and one of the McLarens, one of the lesser used cars. Personally, Sean, my favorite. I know you said you drove a few laps around here in it, but I love that McLaren. It's so low slung and just mean looking.
Yeah, and it sounds mean, too, when you're sitting in the cockpit of that thing. It's got a really nice growl to it. But, yeah, Steve Paulson, the number 58, the orange and white, a little bit of gray in that machine on the doors there, is wheeling that MP4 12C, I believe that is. And, yeah, that thing gets around this track real well. But, like I said, it's got a lot of torque, and throttle management is so very, very important. But I'll tell you one thing about that McLaren. The brakes stop on a dime. You better be strapped in well when you get on the binders in that one.
Highest technology. And speaking of brakes, Kyle Murphy looking on the inside into the chicane on Steve Paulson. Now he's going to switch to the outside. Does he have the traction? Yes, he does. Gets that rear engine machine, that white and gray roof around him. And now finally Paulson gives up the ghost. And in fact, he's going to be under threat from Aaron Stowe as well.
Yeah, real nice race we're seeing going on right there. The McLaren, I think, just got out-braked and out-best a little bit there going into that turn as we saw Colin Murphy get around him, and now Aaron Stowe is just setting him up, looking for his opportunity to get around now.
Paulson seems to be struggling early on, but that can change as each of these cars have their own unique characteristics. Some will be a little bit easier on tires, some will be better in corners, better on straights, so they have to employ them as they go. Go ahead, Bill.
Tracy Reynolds in the McLaren just looped around and backed it into the fence there. He's back out on the road now.
So Reynolds, who is currently scored in 14th, I'm assuming he lost some positions from that spin. Looks like he has lost about 3 positions. He's sitting behind Ray Fournier, so that means he's about 17th right now, Tracy Reynolds, in that blue and black MP4.
it's really interesting to watch that car, particularly because of the black paint scheme. You really see the backfire. Those mechanics got to get to work in there and stop that thing from backfiring.
It certainly spits a lot of fire, and that's another reason I love those McLarens. Is just they don't just look mean, but they certainly put off the heat that feels mean. Meanwhile, Christopher Beaufet is currently sitting in 14th, and who is he fighting there behind him? Looks like Ray Nelson and the blue and gray roof as well. A couple of roofs fighting towards the back. But right now, as Bill said, the car of choice mostly seems to be the Z4, which is holding many of the top positions. But this 14th and 15th position battle is raging on.
Yeah, I'm watching Jimbo Pfeiffer right now just continue to pull away, lay down some really solid laps. Coming up on some lap traffic. It looks like he's finally caught the back of the field. I believe that's going to be Howard Wendell in front of him. Maybe Christopher Sherburne. It looks like we've already got a couple cars a lap down. But Sherburne lets him go on by, and he continues to open his lead up. Jimbo Pfeiffer getting around in that BMW Power.
And Sherburne is driving the fourth car. He almost goes off. I think that's what you were going to mention, Bill.
No, I'm just you cursed that race back there. There was a battle between Beaufet and Nelson. Nelson just put it in the grass, but he's back on, so that race is over.
All right. Anyways, Christopher Sherburne driving the Ford GT40. Now, this car is a little bit slower. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if they have actually balanced these cars or not. We'll have to check and see if we can get some information to see if they're all equalized, because traditionally the Ford GT that they have out there is just a little bit slower than the other GT3 cars, and showing with Sherburne sitting in 19th out of the 20 cars that started this race, 21 cars that started this race, Wendell being the last on track, a lap down, as well as Randy Webster also being a lap down. Both of those guys right now in Z4s. So,
you know what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I was going to say, I love that GT40. It's such a classic. I just think it suffers from too long a wheelbase and a little bit too much weight to really compete with these, with the BMW Power and the Porsche.
Yeah, but Sean, it looks so good, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you're looking at one built in 1967.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. I love seeing it on the track. I really do. But yeah, you can't deny the fact that from a competitive standpoint, it may not be the quickest dog in the race anymore.
Well, there are rumors that Ford is thinking about coming back into Le Mans racing, and some have spoken about maybe them reviving the GT40, which I believe they stopped producing in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. So we could see more of those beautiful machines coming back to racing soon enough. Well, right now Sherburne is about to be lapped, though, by Josh Gardner, who goes around heading down into turn 6 and puts him a little bit farther down. But this is an endurance race. We don't know how it's going to play out with Sherburne. He could still make up positions. Just ahead, there's that black and blue McLaren of Ryan W. Jones, also about to go a lap down. In fact, he is a lap down already, but about to go a lap down to Josh Gardner, who still sits in second, but right now a whole 9 seconds back, which you mentioned a little bit earlier, Sean. So Jimbo Pfeiffer is looking good, but 2.5 hours is a long time.
Yeah, well, Josh Gardner has actually started to pick up the pace a little bit. Jimbo had gotten to almost 10.5 seconds out, and looks like Josh has picked up some ground. He's got he's battling some of the lap traffic, but it doesn't look like anybody's really interrupting his flow. He's moving right along at a good clip, and just turned minute 20 and a half on that last lap. So Josh doing a good job. It does look like he lost a little bit to Jimbo, but I think that was really just a matter of getting around some of that traffic that was in front of him. But Josh is looking pretty steady.
Yeah, I think that was the traffic of Jones through the chicane, and you tried to let him by, but unfortunately he had to go around the outside of the right-hander part of the chicane, so that slowed him down just a little bit. But the number 131 BMW of Josh Gardner continues on, and unscathed, and hopefully you can try and make that time up. Like we said, a long ways to go. In fact, you can see on your screen 2 hours and 14 minutes left in this thing to go. In fact, I want to say that it's the longest race of the season in this series.
Yeah, and so far, I think what we're seeing here throughout the field is, I think, we've got one little pack that has their own pace, and then in the pack behind them, there's about another 3 or 4 cars that have their own pace, and then another 4 cars that have their own pace, and another 4. So you see where I'm going with this is we've got little individual packs, about 4 different packs throughout this track right now that are being very competitive. And honestly, I think we'll probably be looking at a round of pit stops here pretty soon, don't you think, Joe?
I believe they can make it about 50 minutes to an hour in most of these cars, so we are still a little ways off, I think, at just having passed 17 minutes. So I think we got a while. However, we are on board with Brian Barnes, the number 4 BMW, who's trying to chase down Corey Peters and that yellow and white BMW in front of him down through the S's. This fight has been going on for quite a while, but I think Barnes, Bill, might know that he doesn't have to fight too hard. He can stay in this 4th position and still come away with the championship today.
Yeah, it's a different mindset for these drivers and for us as announcers as well. We're used to doing these 45-minute sprint races. We did one yesterday, and where it's really much more intense. I'm back here looking at a 3-car battle between Rogers, Stowe, and Paulson. We don't need to go there, stay where you are. But they're just comfortably driving 2.5 hours. They're just a nice Sunday drive right now.
But Paulson lost a lot of ground actually in turn 5 there, so Stowe is caught up quite significantly. So let's maybe jump back since it doesn't look like anything's really happening. Although Barnes goes defensive, or excuse me, not Barnes, but his competitor Peters went defensive. Anyways, back to this fight between Stowe and Paulson. Paulson and the McLaren in front, the white and red machine, the blue and yellow BMW belonging to Stowe, hunts him down the backstretch. He's going to have the draft. It doesn't look like he's quite close enough, though. He's going to have some braking room in the braking zone for the chicane, but he's going to have to run out of room and slots back into line. Just behind them, haunting them, is Matthew Rogers, which you mentioned, Bill, and that black and orange BMW. So he is ready to pick up the pieces if something starts to go down.
I'm going to push my luck here and give some technical expertise that I picked up. But from doing these races before, it's been my understanding that the McLaren has better, it's a little better through the tighter corners and maybe has better grip on the corner exit, but on the sweeping corners, the BMW might have. How's that sound?
That sounds accurate enough to me, although I know the McLaren has gobs of downforce on that machine. But we can see a fast left-hand sweeper. That was turn 5, as now Stowe ducks to the inside down into 6, but he's not close enough. Once again, he's really going to want to set himself up, Sean, in this turn right here, turn 7, excuse me, which leads onto the backstretch. And look at that. The McLaren just takes off like a shot down the backstretch. That is some mechanical grip.
Yeah, it really is. And Stowe, Stowe kind of lost his chance there, lost his momentum there in the turn. And, he's got to worry about this car right behind him here, Matthew Rogers, who you said was haunting him. He's literally haunting him. He's got a Halloween paint scheme on that thing. I see bats.
Absolutely. We're riding on board. Whoa, huge bobble from Rogers up over the hill, though, but he catches it. So speaking of scary, might have to change his pants after that one.
Dare I say boo.
And look at that beautiful Halloween scheme there for being October at the time this race is taking place. Speaking of scary moments, we just want to take just a time out to mention that our thoughts and prayers go out to Jules Bianchi and his family. For those not aware, there was a severe accident during the Japanese Grand Prix where he received some head trauma, and he went into surgery. Last I heard, he is out of the surgery, though, but definitely our thoughts go out to him and his family.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Joe. I happened to be watching that live when that went down, and it was pretty scary. He didn't hit a barrier or a wall or anything. He hit the back of the crane that was lifting one of the cars off the track. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, we all love motor racing, but man, when something like that happens, it just makes you just think, is this really worth it? It's so sad.
Yeah, and thankfully we don't have to worry about those safety issues out on track because we have an intense battle going on. Stowe looks like he might have it finally coming out of the chicane. as he made a dive under braking. And look at Paulson, almost got swamped by Rogers. Rogers apologizes over the radio, and Hutchinson is now up into this, takes a look into the inside of turn 1, but he backs out of it. That is a very, very fast right-hander. Can be a passing zone, Sean, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, probably not. I am watching that battle, but I'm also looking at my timing and scoring in here, and look who's jumped out to 20 seconds now. Jimbo Pfeiffer spreading that lead out a little bit further.
What happened to Josh Gardner? He's down in 4th now. Something must have happened, because Corey Peters is up into 2nd and Brian Barnes is into 3rd. So somewhere along the line we missed a trick, and Gardner had some problems or something.
Yeah, I'm going to back up here and watch Gardner here and try and find out exactly what happened while you guys cover the live action. But something did happen, got him out of shape.
Yeah, it dropped out. I have a replay. It drops out on my replay, though, but I see him on the side of the road. He looped it and then got it back in, I guess.
Yeah, I see it here, coming out of 5, and he dipped it too far inside over the rumble strip, and or I'm sorry, not out of 5, but out of the chicane there, going into the chicane, he dipped it onto the rumble strip, and then it got the car all the way out of shape.
We're looking to see if we can see it on a replay here, and I'm not sure if we can go back far enough. Yep, there it is. And just that rear end came out of him, and luckily he was avoided by other cars coming along. He was a bit on the racing line, backs out of it, and now he gets it going. Probably smart for him to not just jump right back onto the track like that. But no harm, no foul. Car is still intact, thankfully, and Gardner does have the pace, so he could run down Barnes and Peters eventually. We'll have to see what he can do from here. But you were mentioning, Bill, earlier about the feelings when accidents happen in racing. Even though this is sim racing, these guys still are obviously race fans, and I feel like things like that happening really kind of consolidates that this is a fraternity, that everyone still kind of pulls for each other. That at the end of the day, we all are human, and we feel for one another when tragedy happens.
I'm 54 years old, so I'm able to remember just what the tail end of what they call the golden years of racing. Man, if anyone has a chance to see a great racing movie, it's to get a copy of Grand Prix. With James Garner, if you really understand what racing was want to be like, how insanely dangerous it was back in the mid 60s. They were losing drivers left and right, and I was so young at the time that, death doesn't really faze you. I can't imagine how I would feel about racing, or even if I would be a racing fan, if that kind of tragedy was going on now when you're older and you have a concept of the true nature of death. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I unfortunately have experienced it a few times in my lifetime, watching races live and witnessing that happen. So it hits you very hard, even when it's a driver you're not a fan of. We saw on screen Jim Pankin did stop in for a pit stop, so he is one of the first ones here, obviously maybe trying to employ a reverse strategy. Meanwhile, we're watching Wayne Hutchinson, who is currently sitting in the 10th position, it looks like. And actually, he's in the midst of a sea of cars. Actually, this is quite a clump. He's got Kyle Murphy just behind them. This is all for position. Matthew Rogers in 9th. Steve Paulson just overtaking the Ford GT, lapping him, sitting in 8th, and just ahead, Aaron Stowe and Ryan Jones are also battling. Ryan Jones is a lap down, so Stowe is sitting in the 7th position, trying to put him a lap down, which he does now into the chicane.
Yeah, and Murphy trying to put a move on Hutchinson there. Hutchinson trying to get around the GT40 there. And he makes the move. There we go.
And Rogers almost got pushed off track there trying to lap some of these cars. He had a scary moment that we could see on screen, but now he's finally getting past some of these lapped cars.
Yeah, and Hutchinson took Murphy right along with him. Wow, it's pretty dicey. Hutchinson's off. No, that was Murphy. Murphy is off.
No, that's Hutchinson. You were right the first time. That's Hutchinson in turn 1. Actually made contact with the barrier. I'm not sure if we can get a replay of that.
Boy, he hit it pretty hard.
He's got severe damage on that machine.
He's off track. He's going to call it a day. He's pulling off track. We're looking at the replay now. That's going into turn 1. I think you can attribute that to this rear engine car, Sean, that when it starts to come around, it's very hard to recover in these roofs.
Yeah, he didn't have a chance. Yep. Once it started to go, it just dove right into that wall.
And like I said, that's a fast corner. And the weird thing about that corner too, Sean, is that it starts to go uphill. So when you think the car is not going to grip, it suddenly starts to grip, and that can throw you off if you're not used to it.
Yeah, it can. And, I would assume that these guys are used to it. So, but, it takes intense focus to get around this track because you've got some really, really high speed zones and some really tight turns that you got to manage your way through in these very powerful cars. So, I'm watching Jimbo Pfeiffer right now, and Jimbo, he's got his work cut out for him. He's running through this pack of racing that we've been watching here, and they're not just giving up and all diving to the inside for him. He's having to work for this.
Well, we want these drivers to work for it. We want it to seem a little bit less than easy, and it's not easy for Brian Barnes right now, still trying to run down Corey Peters. He's just been trailing him for most of the race. Right now, he's got the lapped car of William Fletcher between himself and Peters. You can see that blue and white BMW just in front of him right now as they dive through that final corner, just a couple wheels off. That can be scary as well for Fletcher. And now, once again, not pulling over to let him by into turn one. Interesting that these back markers, Bill, I know this is something close to your heart, not really making it easy for these guys today.
No, and it's so early, and this track is pretty easy to let guys by. If I want to just add a little bit to that battle we were watching, Stowe and Paulison, Hutchinson, Murphy, and Rogers. We saw Stowe get around Paulison, and then Paulison was kind of holding up Rogers and Murphy and Hutchinson as Stowe was pulling away. And then they got into that traffic, and that's when things got ugly. So it was too bad for Hutchinson. I think he's called it a day.
Unfortunate to see. He was running decently, but right now he's scored in 16th.
He's still in the pits, so it's nice to see his car still there. A long race, maybe he's going to wait and let the crew work on it and bring it back out.
Speaking of the pits, Christopher Sherburne and the Ford GT is also heading into the pits. So as we watch Tracy Reynolds, now we're watching Christopher Sherburne heading into his stall. We've just about hit the half-hour mark. I suspect, Bill, that these guys are doing a bit of a reverse strategy that we're seeing taking these early stops.
Yeah, do a little math back from the end of the race, come in as early as you can, and then run 2 long stints there at the end. Joe, I think Sherburne is the only guy in the Ford, don't you think?
It looks like it. I haven't seen any others out on track. So
all right, that's the guy I'm pulling for now. I want to see him run the whole 2.5 hours, get that Ford into the top 10.
We are only a half an hour into this thing. Tell you the difference in pace between these drivers. We have the driver in 10th, Christopher Buffo, in 10th is already a lap down. So over half the field is already been put a lap down by Jimbo Pfeiffer.
Yeah, he's got a 20-second lead on Peters, and that's gonna make it a long drive for Pfeiffer, don't you think, Sean?
Yeah, it's gonna be a long day. I am seeing that Wayne Hutchinson is back on the track. He's got that Canadian machine, that Canadian Porsche all fixed up and shiny and new, and gonna try and somehow make up 2 laps here. But Wayne's back in the race, and it looks like he's under full power, so good for Wayne.
Meanwhile, we watched Tracy Reynolds, who's actually went off track, and now he's trying to come back at Ray Nelson. That was for position. Ray, in that purple and gray roof, managed to put himself up into 11th, and now he's starting to run away with it. So
okay. Here's our contest, guys. What are we, a half hour into this, right? And Pfeiffer has got a 20-second lead on Peters. I think Pfeiffer is going to lap the field.
It could be possible. It is an endurance event, so it's not unheard of. I wouldn't put it past him. So 20 seconds, what are we looking at for a lap time here? Minute 18. Whoa, when we got a spinning car. That's Buffo actually off on the side of the track. You can see him on your screen trying to get back going and turned around there. But anyways, so let's try and figure out some math here as we watch Christopher try to get that roof back going, that orange and gray roof. So half an hour, that's about 5 times of that. Yeah. 5 times 20. That's just about exactly going to be a minute 20.
All right, so that's what we're going to watch for. I'm hoping for lapping the field.
Actually,
Oh,
no. Wait a minute.
ahead.
That'd be a minute 40, I believe. So yeah, he should clear it by some margin.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to keep that pace up, though. Well, maybe he can. I don't know. Boy, Buffo finally got his car back on the... It took him forever to get off the grass.
Well, right now we are watching Steve Paulson holding down the 7th spot in that white and gray McLaren. In fact, I believe he's the highest McLaren right now. So representing that group of cars at the moment. In fact, you can see just ahead of him, that's Aaron Stowe in the blue and yellow BMW that he is trying to run down. But let's talk about that though, Bill. The whether or not he wants to run that pace. With this being an endurance race and with him having a comfortable lead, if he wanted to, he could back off to try and play it safe. So he doesn't have to lap the field if he wanted to try and make it to the end, just try and grab the W.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop a name. I've spent a lot of time talking to Jan Koemans, and for drivers who know the MX-5 or the Blondie series, he's dominant there. And he talks about the way for him to keep concentration on a long race is to actually hot lap. He says he gets into more trouble when he starts to daydream. He loses his rhythm. And our leader is off in the sand.
Yes, he is. Just looked like he got to the brakes just a little bit too late there going into the turn.
He's coming up on a back marker, and he kind of lost his rhythm.
Yeah, he was coming up to Howard Wendell. Let's see if we can get a replay of that. He was unsighted into the braking zone, and that braking zone is really tricky, I can tell you. It's got just a slight curve. You can see now as we watch the replay of Pfeiffer coming onto the front stretch. That's Wendell just ahead of him, and that purple and black BMW. And just that little bit of a kink put 2 wheels off into the grass, and Sean, from there, you're kind of on a ride.
Yeah, and you know what, though? He really did a great job of minimizing the damage there, though, and just driving straight through it. Didn't get nervous, didn't make any unnecessary movements that would have got the car out of shape. So he saved it and really got back under power real quickly. Lost very little time.
I think it was surprised by the closing rate. He saw he got there fast.
This is true too, but yeah, you make a great point there, Sean. I think that shows the talent level of certain drivers when something starts to go wrong, knowing what to do in that situation. He didn't panic, and he knew that just trying to lock up the brakes, he can just be sent straight into that barrier, which is relatively close, but just rode it through the sand and managed to continue on as he leads yet another lap with still a 22-second lead, I believe. No, it's going to get 16-second lead now to Corey Peters. So he only lost about 6 seconds last time by, but now they are on to lap 26, Sean.
Yeah, that, like I said, minimizing the damage, that could have been so much worse right there. Heck, it could have been the end of his race. I mean, no telling it if that car kept sliding and into that wall, what kind of damage it could have done. But yeah, Jimbo's back to running some clean laps again. But we've still got a good race going on here behind him. I mean, Corey Peters and Barnes look like they're keeping it close, and I'm sure these two will probably, as long as they can both keep it on the track, are probably going to be partners here for most of this event.
Joe, it's funny, and Sean, it's funny, the commentator's curse really exists. I swear it does. We're sitting there talking about how a lead lap car can keep concentration, stay out of trouble, and as the words are coming out of my mouth, the leader goes off the track. It is amazing how often that happens.
Shades of Murray Walker, I suppose. Right now, Jim Pankin is who is he fighting with? He's got a blue and black McLaren that's chasing Morgan, and he actually runs into the back of him, knocks him off track into the concrete barrier. He's able to continue, tries to come back on. So it looks like he's able to keep going, but oh my goodness, that was a big thunk into the rear of that car. Watching the replay now.
Ooh.
And that number 60 McLaren is a little beat up right now. She's got a little bit of damage to her. I don't know what Tracy's going to do here, but he's probably going to want to take a pit here pretty soon and get a little of that fixed up.
You can see the damage on that right front there, Bill.
I've been watching Tracy Morgan because I really like the car. In fact, we were talking about the black paint scheme with the backfire coming out of it. He's had quite an event.
Sounds like we have another car off. I didn't quite hear who it was. Randy Webster apparently had an off, and he's actually in the pits right now. Let's look at the replay. Whoa! serious hit at the bottom of the S's. Back to what you were saying, Sean, you're flying through there, so if it goes wrong, it goes wrong in a big way.
Yeah, he just didn't take that turn real well at all, and when he realized it, I think he cranked that wheel a little bit too much, and it came right around on him and right into the wall, and yeah, lots of damage. He's still in the pits, and it's probably going to be there for a little bit.
Only a half an hour in, already we're seeing contact between cars and cars in the wall. So if guys are struggling with only a half an hour into the race, just over a half an hour, man, are we going to see attrition really come into play towards the end?
Well, I think I think when you talk about any race over an hour long, I think you're talking about a war of attrition at some point. Going back talking about our leader, here comes Jimbo Pfeiffer now, coming up on Kyle Murphy and Steve Paulson, who've been having a great battle. And now, how does this play for Jimbo Fisher? He's going to get caught up in the middle of this thing now. Should be a next interesting. These next couple laps should be very interesting for Jimbo Pfeiffer.
And Pfeiffer, as we ride along, actually backs off before the braking zone. You can see these guys battling. He knows he's got a gap, so he knows he doesn't have to be right up in this. And now they've got lap traffic in front of them, as well as Ryan Jones is just ahead of Steve Paulson and Kyle Murphy. Now heading through that final quarter. Steven looks like maybe he can duck on by. Yes, he pops out to the inside into turn one, and Ryan, backs out of it, but unfortunately the other car, Kyle tries to go around the outside. That was not the move I would have made, and they make contact! He hits Ryan and slides him off the track. A little bit of damage on the roof of Kyle Murphy, and he is slow now. That is not good to see, as Jimbo Pfeiffer, after having wisely backed away from these guys, is able to slot through a little bit easier now.
Yeah, Kyle's got some right front damage on that machine. I don't know. It's a pretty good crease in that fender. I hope it's not rubbing a tire. But he does have some damage. Hopefully it didn't get the front end all out of whack on it. But he may be having handling issues right now, as our leader Jimbo Pfeiffer made that pass, got around him, and now he seems to be fading back pretty quick, as we see Jimbo Pfeiffer start to go to work on Stephen Paulson now.
And we're looking at the replay. You can see the roof tries to go around the outside of Jones, then doesn't back out of it, interestingly, and there just wasn't enough space in a corner that's already tight, and he gets tipped off there. And if ever I had seen a car that could possibly look forlorn, it's Jones's car, who just sits there, you can see, as he pulls to a halt on the outside of 3.
And Joe, all this attrition is exactly what my guy Christopher Sherburne needs in that Ford. I've been watching him. He's just taking it nice and slow. Sure, he's in 17th place, 3 laps back, but I'm telling you, top 10 for that Ford come races in.
Yeah, well, let's see, where did he qualify? He qualified in last. Remember, he was the one we thought would not start the race. He did start the race, so we had 23 guys, or no, I guess we did have 21 guys take the green flag here. No. But he was the last car on the train, so he already taken.
He qualified 23rd, not last. Yes, there's only 22. It is 23rd. Sounds so much better than last.
We've got a car off in front of him. That's Wendell, and Wendell's into the barriers.
And there's another position for Sherburne.
Wendell was actually already, no, he wasn't behind him. Yes, he is the next car in front.
No pressure.
Well, guys, Paulson gave up the ghost and let Jimbo Pfeiffer by, and now it's back to him and Kyle Murphy putting on the best race they can right now. And just try and keep battling back and forth here for 5th and 6th position, but Jimbo Pfeiffer pulling away again, guys.
Paulson in the number 58 McLaren, Kyle Murphy in the 48 Roof. And interesting to see that Murphy's doing okay. I think were you talking earlier about him potentially having damage to his steering? Because he's certainly keeping up with Paulson.
He is. There is damage, right front damage to that corner. Pretty good damage, but yeah, he's handling it.
Now, interestingly, I'm noticing, it looks like they've got similar sponsors on that car. I wonder if those guys are teammates, actually, and potentially helping each other out.
We should investigate.
Exactly. Well, just a little bit of time lost up the hill. Bill, what are you seeing?
It's just entertaining. If you want to keep your camera, we don't need to go there now. Tracy Reynolds spins it again. He has had more excitement in these first 40 minutes than a guy usually has in a whole month of iRacing.
Well, Reynolds is kind of all by himself at the moment, but let's stick with Steve Paulson right now, because this battle is still going on between himself and Murphy heading down to the chicane. Murphy takes a little bit of a peek into that corner, heavy braking into there. Paulson gives him more than enough space, and it's a bit of no after you right now here, Bill. Oh, and then Paulson loops it.
He sure did. Back to the power a little too quick.
It's very easy to do. It looks more simple than it is, but that crest is huge, Sean. It's the car goes light over it. There's very few cars that are able to really get through that corner easily, as we watch the replay of him just spinning the car, and I think he keeps it out of the barriers, though. Yes, he does.
Yeah, he did. And no, man, you go over that crest, you catch legitimate air, as they say. You're catching air coming over that thing, so you better be sure those wheels are on the ground, and on the ground good, before you start getting back into that throttle.
Even with all the downforce of that mighty McLaren, he lost the grip, and he lost 2 positions. Aaron Stowe managed to get ahead of him.
Yeah, it was a costly mistake. I mean, Pfeiffer had already made the pass and was already well on his way. At that point, all you really got to do, if you're Paulson, is just drive, make it to the pit stop. But yeah, that cost him a couple positions. He's going to have to go back to work here and, roll up his sleeves and try and get back up there.
We are 45 minutes now into the race as we ride on board with Jim Packnin, who is just behind Ray Nelson, and this battle between 2 roofs is definitely a hot one at the moment. This is for 9th and 10th position, so the end of the top 10. Packnin behind with the gold, I guess that's a gold color. I'm feeling like you a bit, Bill. Gold and purple roof of Nelson just ahead of him through the chicane. And he goes off.
There he goes.
Boy, we are suffering the commentator's curse something fierce. As soon as we look at someone, mistakes are being made.
Should we stop broadcasting at this point, or?
Our director made it. Oh, and I'm watching as Ray Nelson just put it in the grass.
Indeed, that was around turn 1. You can see him coming back onto the course now with the clear uphill there. So lost a number of positions, I believe. Yes, William Fletcher. So Ray Nelson now outside the top 10.
This is a pretty forgiving track for getting off if you can do it in the right places. There are a couple barriers that are pretty close, but these guys are managing to loop it a lot of times and stay off the walls.
And, I almost attribute that, Bill, to just a little bit of experience for some of these guys, because we talked about not panicking and the way to take an accident unfolding correctly. And some of these guys are doing that pretty well, I have to say, when it starts to go down, because you can definitely throw it away by responding to an accident unfolding in the wrong way. So right now, these guys are doing a pretty good job, despite the driver errors.
Yeah, now I'm going to apologize for not doing my homework here, but I have to assume that these guys, there must be some type of unlimited repairs on these cars, Joe. Is that your impression?
I believe there is no free repairs.
Because Hutchinson is back in the race. A lot of these guys, we really don't have that many cars that are out right now.
We really don't, but I think maybe you can attribute it to the fact that it's an endurance race, and a bunch of these guys are thinking like Christopher Sherburne, just keep swimming.
Well, that's Dory. 2 fast repairs we're hearing now from the director, so that kind of hurts my guy Christopher Sherburne there. These fast repairs are going to hinder him, as his attrition is not going to be as significant. But what was I going to say before the director said 2 fast repairs? I don't know. Let me go with a different topic since we have a break. I know where I was going. I love dominating the microphone. Last year we did the Virtual Sim Racing Association, where they raced the Z-Force, and those things can take a punishment and still keep driving, because they were banging them around like Sherman tanks, and so maybe that's helping out a little bit as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Those things seem to be pretty hardy. Although I know the McLaren is a little more susceptible to the aero damage. So any of those guys that, and we've seen a couple, get a few bumps and bruises, they will be slowed down, especially in a straight line, which seems to be a strength of them. We can see one on screen there just ahead of Jim Pankton, who actually, am I seeing? No, for a second I thought Pankton had some damage. That would be Steve Paulson, though, in that McLaren, running in 8th position, the number 58, and currently he is on lap 34. So we are going to see, I'm pretty sure, with the amount of time and the quickness of these laps, 100+ laps from these guys.
Yeah. And Sean, talking about fast repairs, I'm not a big fan of it, but Joe's always quick to point out if they wouldn't let these drivers repair their car, honestly, for a 2.5-hour race, we might be broadcasting. It might look like that Indianapolis Grand Prix that they had one year where we had 6 cars racing. You guys remember that one?
Yeah, I do remember that. I was actually there for that travesty. But anyway,
you were there for that?
Yes, I was. Yeah, no, it's yeah, I do know for a fact that McLaren does not, I wouldn't call it a prize fighter. It does not like to take much of a beating from the aero standpoint. It does not perform well once you get some damage on those fenders.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess you know, if we were calling the BMW a Sherman tank, then the McLarens must be some sort of scout that's just lightly armored out there.
Yeah, I'd say that's a great comparison. Exactly.
Hey, Sean, quickly, did you get a free ticket for that Indy race afterwards?
No, sir, I did not. Thank you very much. Yeah, Bernie still has not responded to my email.
You know, one of the things I did hear about that race is that the Cleveland race, if you remember when they had that at the airport, actually offered, as we watched Jim Pankton, who's trying to hassle Paulson here, they offered fans who went, if they brought tickets, they got a free pass to that Cleveland race.
Yeah, for viewers who don't know what we're talking about, there was a Grand Prix race in the Indianapolis Speedway where they were having tire trouble, and only 6 of the actual drivers, so I think it was only 3 teams that actually decided to race the race.
Yeah, that's correct. Everyone else, by protest, pulled into their garage before the green flag. Unfortunate, but glad to say that we had 21 cars start here today, and right now, it looks like we have 19 still out there. So after over or just about 50 minutes, we have only lost 2 cars. That's not too bad.
No, it's not bad at all. Actually, we're doing great. In fact, those cars have been out for quite a while. Carl Burke hardly got any of this race in. He's 23 laps down. Randy Webster's 11 laps down. So they didn't get a great amount of this racing in. But, you know, the rest of the field looking pretty good. You know, Jimbo Fisher just keeps slugging along here. I'm sorry, I said Fisher again, didn't I? Jimbo Pfeiffer. I keep doing it. I'm sorry, Mr. Pfeiffer.
We also had a Tracy Morgan at one point.
I heard that.
I'm amazed that he's in good enough condition to be driving in this right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Tracy Morgan. Yeah, hopefully Tracy's doing well this evening. But again, back to Jimbo Pfeiffer, really running away from this thing. He's got clean air in front of him and clean air behind him. And I would say he's probably starting to think about coming to the pits right now. Jimbo Fisher, thank you for getting me off the hook there. Jimbo Pfeiffer is into the pits. I did it again. Wow. Yeah, Jimbo is in, and let's see what he's going to do here. But I'm going to guess, you know, full fuel and 4 tires here. Why not? You've been running for 45 minutes now, or even close to an hour now. So.
And you can see Paulson and his McLaren also pulling out as Pfeiffer pulls in. And it looks like he hit his mark squarely on. Now he's getting service. And it looks like he's not taking tires, actually.
No, it doesn't, Joe. I see that car sitting there, and I don't see any jacks. It looks like we're getting fuel only, baby.
For those not familiar, we did see earlier one of the cars actually take tires. It was a roof. And if you've never experienced sim racing on iRacing, the cars actually don't have crews that you can see. So even though it is the computer that's doing the work, that's not actual people doing anything, when you see them go up into the air magically, that is the invisible crew going to work. So don't worry, these cars are not magic carpets, Bill. They are just getting the work done to them.
And Jimbo Pfeiffer is off the pit lane, guys. Back on pace here. We're getting up to pace, I should say, as he starts to come to the top of the hill and hit the S's here. Jimbo is back to work.
It'll be interesting to see. I think Peters is going to get a lap led even if he comes into pits. Let's see how long he stays out there. But it's nice we have a new leader.
Yeah, he'll, and I don't believe they have bonus points for that. He's coming around. He's actually going to stay out. So Peters continues on, obviously deciding to go a little bit farther, or maybe he's making better fuel. In fact, right now he's trying to put Steve Paulison down a lap as we watch them head into turn 1. Now, one of the things I was thinking about it, I'm curious about, we've been watching Christopher Sherburne and that poor Ford GT, but I'm curious to know if we can figure out who is the biggest mover so far. Who's been making up the most positions?
Well, let's see what we can see here.
While Bill is looking at... Oh, did you get one?
I got Murphy from 6th, from 13th to 6th, so I'll see if I can do better than that. That's 7 spots.
And in fact, he's the last car in the lead lap right now, so he's not doing too shabby. In fact, the leader, Corey Peters, is behind him right now, so I guess he has gone a lap down, but he must have got that lap back once the leader of Pfeiffer had gone into pit. So Peters continuing on and could put him a lap down shortly. We'll see how long he can go on that fuel. As we said, about 50 minutes to an hour that these cars can go on a tank.
Oh, and Peters is coming up on some traffic here that was off course. Can't see who it was that was off course, but looks like one of the McLarens as Peters comes down the hill on the gas all the way around and across the start-finish line here for lap 40. Corey Peters is your race leader.
Indeed, he was scored the leader last time by, I would believe, so this is his second lap led, although he only has a 1.1 second gap back to Barnes. You can see him on your screen. Barnes in the blue and yellow BMW behind him.
It's a beautiful blue and yellow BMW.
Very nicely painted as they continue on and definitely starting to be held up by Ryan
we gotta get
Jones.
a new leader. Here we go.
Oh, big mistake out of turn 5. There goes Brian Barnes. Now the question is, though, are they both going to stay out? Because I believe, well, they might still get the lead a lap if they go into the pits, since that is still early on and very much being held up once again by the back marker of Ryan Jones, who now lets them by. But Corey Peters, after a mistake, is now hot on the trail of Brian Barnes, our latest leader.
Yeah, Ryan Jones is having a rough day. I don't know why he feels the need to race those guys, but they're obviously trying to get by. I don't know. I guess you want to be competitive, but that car's got pretty good damage on it. And I don't know that Jones is ever going to be officially back in this thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I can agree. It's at this point, you're this far down, you might as well be polite and make friends, because otherwise it's going to bite you later on. And Brian Barnes does continue on, so does Corey Peters. They're going to lead another lap, this time Barnes ahead of the 2. And we keep talking about this commentator's curse, Bill. I was the one that just mentioned he only had a 1 second lead.
Yeah, well, Gardner now knocked 3 seconds off the lead. He was 13 seconds back. He's now only 10 seconds back, so he may end up getting the lead even after making this run.
Remember, Gardner was the one that was in second place before he made a mistake earlier on. In fact, a couple of mistakes, and that's what sent him back through the field. So right now, he is trying to make up time as we ride on board with Corey Peters behind the leader, Brian Barnes, for yet another lap. Still waiting to see when they're going to decide to go into pits. We have got about 5 more minutes before we hit that 1 hour mark.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm following Josh Gardner right now. He's got that thing hanging out on the ragged edge, baby. I mean, he is just flat out running hot lapping every lap right now. Looks good. Car looks nice and free. He's just running a great line right now. I think Josh is going to be a real contender here at the end, guys.
I would not doubt it. If he can keep the mistakes away for the rest of the race, as we have a car off, that is Steve Paulison yet again. Steve has been struggling lately, trying to get that white and red little McLaren turned around. Now he does, and gets it back on track through the chicane.
Yeah, just a real tough break for Paulison there, coming down the hill, getting ready to come into the chicane, and just got in a little bit too hot, and looks like he just got back to the pedal a little too soon, coming off that turn, guys.
We saw Aaron Stowe head into the pits, the blue and yellow BMW at the number 6, taking his first stop, I believe. So it looks like pretty much guaranteed 2-stop race for the day with no cautions out there. Meanwhile, Corey Peters back with the cameras on him, looking to chase down Brian Barnes after a mistake cost him the lead, although temporarily, because neither of these cars have pitted either. Not going to be close enough down into the chicane's going to have to wait for another day. These guys have been very, very closely matched. In fact, Barnes had been haunting, we were talking about that word earlier, Peters for pretty much the entire race, I believe. And boy, you talk about patience, Bill. He waited nearly an hour, and finally it paid off.
Yeah, and Sean Gardner's racing beautifully now. Now, what's interesting is Pfeiffer is currently running in 4th place. I'm sorry, Joshua Gardner. I'm sorry, I don't know what my director's commenting. What did I say, director? I said Gardner, didn't I? All right, here we go. Oh, all right. Jimbo Pfeiffer is in 4th place, and he's already made his pit stop. So when the pit cycle is done, we're going to be looking at 4 drivers on the lead lap. I think it's going to be Barnes, Peters, Joshua Gardner, GL, and Pfeiffer is probably be our leader.
I know you mentioned that you hadn't drank before the broadcast. I'm not sure if Sean has either. Well, I'm sure we'd all appreciate a cold one up here, but right now we got a job to do as we continue to watch Jimbo Pfeiffer in 4th after his pit stop, waiting for everybody else to cycle through, and eventually the number 3 BMW will get back into the lead. And that blue and orange machine, as he puts another car down, that is a very scary place to try and slip by, but he made it work with Christopher Beaufet sliding out of the way, sitting in 13th position.
Speaking of a cold one, I'd just like to tell these guys who've been listening to me broadcast these races, they, as our leaders again, pass up on the pit stop. I did finally get my 12-pack of hams, and I apologize. I thought it came from Seattle. Apparently it's from St. Paul, so even if you guys tried, you couldn't give it to me. So I thank everybody, and we can now put that issue to rest. Back to you, Joe.
A very important issue.
That was important.
Clarify. Well, Corey Peters is still on the tail of Brian Barnes, although he's not closing, so these guys seem to be incredibly evenly matched. We have hit the hour mark into this race, or at least just 1 minute shy of it, so let's go to a quick break. We'll come back after a moment, and we'll see if these guys finally take their first pit stop. We're watching a replay. Welcome back to the Petit Le Mans, round 11 for the Northwest Majors. You're looking at Josh Gardner, who had just about inherited the lead and then spun and gave it away for the third time in this race after a pit stop. He had jumped Brian Barnes, and if you were watching before wondering how he could have, and there's damage on Josh Gardner's car that we can see, how Brian Barnes could have potentially been in the lead. Well, Jimbo Pfeiffer, who has been dominating, has disconnected. His internet connection has gone out for some reason. He is not in this race. So Josh Gardner currently scored in third place, but I believe that's going to change. Where is Corey Peters? Peters has not yet pitted, I believe.
No, Corey, yeah, a lot has happened in that short break we were in. Corey Peters was the last one to come in. Barnes went in, and then in the very next lap, Peters came around and he came in. Now Barnes is still in front of him, but when this all cycles out here, I think Barnes is going to be your leader.
No, Peters. If Peters is already taking it, we're looking at Pfeiffer's replay for that disco and see if he maybe had some damage or something along the line. But as we watch this replay, no, Peters, if he's already done his stop, he is out in front. So Peters is effectively our leader ahead of Brian Barnes. Still watching this replay of Pfeiffer. Nothing so far, no dramas as he heads down the front stretch. Seeing if we can piece together what exactly happened, if this was just internet connection problems or if he ran into something and decided to give up the ghost. He had 2 free repairs if he did, so it wouldn't have really made sense. Now coming up on some more lap traffic, dives down inside him. We've gone quite a ways back because I remember seeing this actually before the break.
Well, you're absolutely right. Peters is now your leader. Brian Barnes 8.5 seconds behind, and Joshua Gardner back there almost 18 seconds behind. So the top 3, Corey Peters, Brian Barnes, and Joshua Gardner.
And boy, Gardner has got to be kicking himself, Sean, because, at this point, he had the pace to try and run down Corey Peters. He had just jumped Brian Barnes in the pits and then threw it away in the treacherous turn 5, or not turn 5, I guess it's down into S's, really.
Yeah, well, now he's struggling with a bent up car. And he just avoided a wreck there in the middle of the track. His car stopped. But continue to talk about Gardner. He's got some pretty good damage on that rear end and that wing. No telling how that's affecting his downforce here at this point, but it's got to be affecting the handling on the car as he continues to try and move through the field here and get some of this time he's lost back. But it's going to be tough with that car.
We'll see what kind of pace he has.
Oh, and he's off to the chicane.
Oh, boy, this is not his day. This just goes to show with endurance racing, you can have that 1-lap pace, Sean, but if you can't match that pace throughout the whole race, then it's useless.
Yeah, and that wing is killing him right now. I'm watching the rear end of that car. He's loose, man. He is loose. That downforce is not as good as it was.
And the bad news is he has just taken his pit stop right before that accident. So he's either going to have to take an early second stop or suffer through this for a long time.
Well, the next car is 20 seconds behind him. A little over 20 seconds, about 23 seconds behind him. So if you can hang on and stay in the top 3, you still got a podium in sight here. Maybe you can make it to the next pit stop. But, man, that's an awful long way to go with a hurt car.
And Christopher Sherburne has just made his way up to 16th, passing Jimbo Pfeiffer. Who would have thought that Sherburne would get around Pfeiffer? So up to 16th, top 10, baby.
Just to show you how far ahead Pfeiffer was, though, Howard Wendell, who's still out on track and was actually the car that was almost run into by Gardner, he is 8 laps down, still trying to get his way past Jimbo Pfeiffer. You can see him on your screen now. Go ahead.
We talk about until iRacing puts in some type of mechanical random factor where cars can break randomly. I actually have not a big problem with the lost internet connection. It really brings in a touch of real world racing.
It really does, and if any of the sim racers out there who are listening probably understand exactly what you mean, because there is just an utter disappointment when it happens. There's a sense of helplessness that I'm sure real drivers experience as well when something breaks on the car. That if you know you did nothing wrong, it's just like, why this time? Why this time?
That's racing,
Well,
baby.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's equivalent of blowing a motor, man. Your race is over. That's it. You're done.
No, I don't think it's like blowing a motor. I think it's like a dead battery
There you go.
or a bad fuel pump.
I was gonna say that's a very quickly fixed motor because they can still come back. Jimbo can come back into this race, and I'll keep my eye out for him. But man, we were watching Gardner coming up through turn 5. He must not like that corner. This is, I want to say, the third time that he's had trouble in that one. I think that's mostly where he's had the problems. He was very, very slippery heading through there.
Yeah, well, with the lack of downforce that he's experiencing right now with that busted up wing, he's having to change everything about how he's attacking this track now. I mean, his braking points are going to change and his throttle points. And I mean, everything changes now because that car just doesn't have near as much grip now.
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about guys on the move. Let's look at John Richard. We haven't seen a whole lot of him on the screen. He is currently in the top 5 and 5th in that black and white BMW, the number 5. But qualified, 12th position. So 7 spots made up for John Richard. Nice little run for him.
Yeah, and John's done a good job of just staying out of trouble and running just really consistent laps. I mean, this is a great race for him so far. I mean, with the trouble we've seen Gardner have, I mean, there's no guarantee that he'll stay up there. I mean, there's plenty of this race left here. And, John Richard's having a really, really nice run. That car, aside from being a little bit dirty, looks like she just rolled off the assembly line.
Absolutely.
I'll bet you a donut. It's Richard. Let's see. I bet you Jean Richard.
All right.
All right. The director is saying it's Richard.
So you're gonna ship that donut over to Colorado, or
No, our director pipes in as if it's the voice of God. He has as much knowledge. I could be just as right as he is. I'm sticking to my gun. It's Richard, Jill.
Well, if only our viewers could hear what GL was saying at times. Although, thank goodness they don't hear what Kevin Brown, our usual director, says.
We'd lose our broadcasting license.
Probably.
Okay, guys, now here we go. We got a situation here. We got Corey Peters coming up on John Richard now. How's this all going to go down? Is John just going to get out of the way, or is he going to race him? I think John's going to be racing here for a little bit of pride. I know I don't want to go a lap down ever. So, Corey, good luck getting by him right as they head down the hill and into the chicane. Here we go, guys. Possible passing opportunity. And whoa, yeah, Peters just dives down in there, takes the position away from him. John just kind of moved over.
Yeah, he let him through. I was going to say the complete opposite. I think if I were John, I'd know I have nobody around, no one I'm catching, no one I'm losing to. At this point, he had nothing to gain by fighting him. And that's probably why he's up that far, is just simply not stressing those situations. And we've seen throughout the day, if you stay out of trouble, you're going to gain spots bit by bit.
Well, Sensei, I think you're right on the money there. I think that was, yeah, you're right. That was the right move to make. And Corey, I think, knew it was coming and did a really nice job of just getting through the chicane there real quick. Oh, as Corey has to avoid a little bit of traffic there in the middle of the road.
That's Ray Nelson in the roof there off to the side there, who is still not turned around. I'm not sure what he's waiting for exactly. But I was going to say, Bill, Confucius say, wise man once said, do not balk leader.
Hey, why is Ray sitting there? Come on, Ray. There you go. Ray's off the track. Thank you, Ray.
There we go.
Well, Joe, if this race had yellow flags, that would be a different story. Staying on the lead lap means a lot more if a yellow flag comes out and you get 99% of your lap back. So, but in this case, let him go.
Absolutely. Well, we watched Ray Packman work his way around Aaron Stowe. Interestingly, speaking of lap cars, Aaron Packman is a lap down from Stowe, and somehow he got his lap back. So interesting thing going on there. In fact, right now he's battling Wayne Hutchinson. You can see in the roof just ahead of him up the road. So those two, Hutchinson and that Canadian marked roof there as he closes in quite a bit under braking and gives him a tap. Apologizes over the radio. And Bill, I forgot that you actually took a little bit of a break while we were gone there, and you didn't catch that Gardner actually had an off.
Oh, that's too bad because he had a nice pace. He was running those guys down, so it's going to be. I'm going to keep an eye on him and see. We have still a long time to go. He's 25 seconds back now. We'll see how he does towards the end.
He's been steadily losing time. He's got a little bit of damage. Let's stay on this battle though between Panknen and Hutchinson between these two roofs. And wow, it's quite a bit of damage on the front of Jim there. Oh, as Hutchinson goes off on turn 5 once again, that very difficult corner, and hands Jim the position. So Jim moves up into 12th. But I was going to say, for our viewers who are just joining us, and for Bill, obviously, Josh Gardner had actually jumped Brian Barnes in the pits, would have been in second position, but as soon as he came out of the pits, coming through the S's, lost control, went into the wall, and lost a significant chunk of time.
Yeah, now that's a nice battle we were watching back there. It looks like it's about 12th, 13th, and 14th with Hutchinson, Panknen, and Fournier is running back there.
Think Panknen is a big fan of pancakes?
I don't get it.
Never mind. Anyways, guess my humor is above most. But so let's jump up front and really catch you up to date on our leaders. Corey Peters is leading after Jimbo Pfeiffer led for most of the way and lost in it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Hutchinson has spun it.
Yeah,
once again,
off the track, guys.
Second time within a lap. Hutchinson is struggling. I wonder if that damage from when he got touched in the back has damaged the handling of his car. Looking at the replay now, as we watch that, as I was saying, Corey Peters, and that's spin in turn 1, actually, it looks like, and put it just gently into the wall. Corey Peters is leading. Brian Barnes is 7 seconds back, just about 8 seconds back in second. Josh Gardner slowly losing ground bit by bit in third, and then behind him, long ways back, is William Fletcher, and William Fletcher is actually in the pits right now. I wonder if that's his second stop. This has to be his second stop, actually.
Yep.
So obviously,
he's the last car on the lead lap. I'm sorry to interrupt you there while you're doing the rundown.
No, you're fine.
Sometimes on these long races, you lose perspective of what's exciting. Somebody gets a little bit loose, and it's like the world is ending. So I jumped in on you.
No, you're fine. And so William Fletcher's obviously going to move down the order. In fact, he is moving down the order. John Richard is now in 4th, and I believe, yes, Matthew Rogers is going to move up into the top 5. So those are our top 5s as we watch William Fletcher in 6th come out of the pit lane.
Yes, he is coming out of that pit lane. That car is looking good, and right now going to make its way down the hill here, and we'll see Mr. Fletcher get back up to speed here as he heads down through the S's, and looks like he's got one of those GT40s right behind him, close on his tail.
I believe actually that's Ray Fournier in a BMW that's just behind him.
You're absolutely right. I had my lens a little too far out. Looked like a GT40.
I believe that is a lap down from him, though, so he's not racing. But you know that made me think as Fletcher was coming out of the pits. Oh, well, when Fletcher's off the track and he gets back on without incident, although it may give that lap back to the car that's behind him. That's Ray Fournier. Now, yeah, he's just looked like he might just breeze on by on the backstretch. But anyways, I was going to say, Sean, when Fletcher was coming out of the pits, you saw with the car coming up, that is a very difficult pit exit when traffic is coming. It's hard to tell what exactly is going on because it kind of dumps you onto the racing line, but not quite. And then it's right into the tricky situations of turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you're carrying a lot of speed coming up to that hill there, and you said it. There's not a whole lot of room to get on the track right there. You really just kind of, boom, you're there. You know, you come out of that pit box and you're there. It's a very, very tough place to get on when you've got that traffic coming fast behind you. And do you yield or do you just jump right into it? I think in an endurance race like this, you're probably going to want to yield a little bit and let those faster cars come on by. You'll get a chance back at them coming back down the hill.
Absolutely. Again, it's discretion is the better part of valor, and that's just one of those cliche phrases you hear so much in endurance racing. And some of these guys have been displaying it today. Some of them have not.
And just my time for my timely Christopher Sherburne report at the top of the hour, or actually 11 minutes after the hour. I'll give you this report every time, just like the weather. He's up to 15th position. Now, that might be pit stop related. I don't think he's taken a second pit stop, but 15th, buddy. Top 10. It's in there.
It's not out of the question still. We have, as you mentioned, an hour and 11 minutes to go on the clock. So we are well past the halfway point at this point, and guys are now in the latter stages of this race as we watch Josh Gardner in third. Now, we keep talking about the mistakes of Josh Gardner. It could have been so much more, but still, he is looking at a podium today, so his pace is still at least getting him somewhere in this race.
Well, guys, he's only 21 seconds back. I watched a little while ago. He was 26 seconds back. I think he has time to actually run these guys down.
And now, actually, he is the last car on the lead lap, so only our podium on the lead lap.
Yeah, and I think we've seen Gardner be fast enough today for him to track these guys down. I know Gardner's problem seems to be just a lack of focus at times, and easy for me to say. I'm sitting up here in the booth, but you have to have that focus on every lap if you're going to be successful and be at the front.
Now, Jimbo Pfeiffer is now 13 laps down and still hasn't returned yet, so I'm going to officially say he's not going to win. Even if he came back, he could not make up 13 laps.
No, that'd be a phenomenal.
He was fast, though. He was fast.
Yeah. I think even if he was 2 laps down, that would be impressive if he managed to come back and win it. Whoa, we got a spun car there of Howard Wendell. Hasn't been having a good race. He's 8 laps down, finally gotten past Jimbo Pfeiffer, and now into 17th. Gets the car going, that purple BMW. Boy, I like that color on that car. Nice and pretty looking car on that one. But right now, he has not been having a good lap, certainly not running the pace very well in that machine. But he's trudging away, and he's still on track, so you have to give him that.
Yeah, Howard Wendell there running the colors of the Mohegan Sun Casino and representing the Mohegan Indian tribe there. And, it is a beautiful car, but unfortunately, Howard's having a rough race.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
It's a Northwest Series. I think I'd like to go to that casino next time I'm up there. I'm going to make a note of that. See? That it's in
Sponsorship
Sponsorship helps. That's right. I'm coming to that casino.
All right, well, Sherburne has gained another spot, Bill. He is up to 14th now. Aaron Stowe must have had trouble somewhere along the way.
Da-da, da-da, da-da. That's my Jaws thing.
Up next is Wayne Hutchinson, but he is a whole lap ahead. So Sherburne's either going to have to rely on a bit of unfortunate circumstances for Hutchinson or pick up the pace to get that next one.
Oh, trust me. Stowe, Nelson, Wendell, Pfeiffer, Jones, Webster, they were all a lap ahead of Sherburne. Nothing slows him down.
He is slow but steady as he gets another lap put on him by Stephen Paulson, who's currently in 8th position in that white McLaren just ahead of him as they head into the chicane. So as let's run down our entire order real quickly because we got the time and I don't see any really close battles at the moment. Corey Peters is continuing to lead the race by about 6 seconds. Brian Barnes has been closing in little bit by little bit, sitting in 2nd place. And as we said, Josh Gardner, his inconsistency has been hurting him, but he is in 3rd, and sometimes he does start to close on those 2 leaders. John Richard, first car a lap down, sitting in that 4th place at the moment. Then behind him, it's Matthew Rogers in the Halloween machine sitting in 5th with a spooky top 5. After that, we've got William Fletcher sitting in 6th, has taken his 2nd pit stop, so he is ready to go to the end of this race supposedly, although that was a very early stop for him. Then after that, we've got Kyle Murphy sitting in 2nd. Stephen Paulison, our first McLaren, I believe, is in 8th. Then Christopher Buffo is in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is Tracy Reynolds, Bill.
Jim Pankin is in 11th spot. Behind him is Ray Fontier. In 13th position is Wayne Hutchinson. And you know what? Oh, that's a lap down. I was going to say he's closing in on him as Christopher Sherburne, but actually he's a lap down. You're right. But let me put it this way. Christopher Sherburne is the lead lap of the cars that are 3 laps down. He's the only car 3 laps down. Let's go to running in 15th place and not on the track is Aaron Stowe. Ray Nelson is not with us. Now, Howard Wendell is out there, and he has actually made it past Jimbo Pfeiffer. Wendell has got up into 17th spot. Jimbo Pfeiffer is in 18th. Ryan W stands for Walter. Ryan Walter Jones is in 19th position, and rounding out the top 20 is Randy Webster. And I'm not sure, Carl Burke is 48 laps back. I'm not sure he actually started.
I believe he started, but he had very early problems because we're on lap 62 at the moment for Corey Peters. So he did, in fact, start this race. But that is your order with just over an hour to go. We're almost through round 11. Now, we've got some time also to talk about the championship and what this is going to do for things. Remember, Barnes was the one competing for the championship, and right now his competitor said he's not going to run any of the road courses. That would be Toby Butler, who is leading the championship.
He hasn't talked to me yet. I will be in contact with Toby.
All right. So if Barnes keeps this up and finishes in second place, the championship could be his, as long as Toby does not show up in the last round. We'll have to see if he decides maybe it's worth trying these right-hand turns, and it's going to be a difficult introduction because, Bill, next round is Bathurst and none other than the V8 supercar. Imagine that for an introduction to road racing.
No, second, I will not be asking Toby Butler. That's a horrible introduction. Oh, what a great track, but that's no way to start your road racing career.
So it's looking pretty much like Barnes could take this one easily in the championship. So let's look at the road side of things. David Warner, he's not here today. He's leading by 77 points. So Josh Gardner, currently sitting third on track. He is second in the points at 76. So he will overtake David Warner in the points. However, ahead of him is Brian Barnes at 74 points, so only 2 points back from him. So if Barnes stays in place, I believe he will overtake both of them, and Barnes is going to find himself in the lead of the road championship as well, if things finish as they are.
And who really gets hurt is Jimbo Pfeiffer, who was in 5th place. He was on his way to a win, so that would have, he was only 10 points back of Gardner, so that really would have helped him.
Absolutely, it would have been a nice little feather in his cap. We've also got Carl Burke in 4th at 73 points, and Burke, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be making points today at 21st and 49 laps down.
Yeah, I think Carl Burke is done. But hey, you know, there's still a race going on up here up front. Corey Peters running hard, running fast, but Brian Barnes is just keeping it as close as he can. Well, it looks like he lost a little bit on this most recent lap, just about a half second, but it's back and forth. He's really not getting Corey, Brian's not letting Corey get too far ahead, as we do see Corey Peters about to reach some lap traffic here as he comes out of the Hesses and makes his way around this track. Corey Peters is going to have a little trouble getting around these cars, I'm sure. Might be an opportunity for Brian Barnes to gain some ground.
You know, and Joshua Gardner he's like that pretty girl next door that's not going to go out with you, but she keeps teasing you. Now he's 27 seconds behind. Just when I was getting my hopes up that I might be getting a date, now he's 20. Well, not with Joshua Gardner, but with that girl next door. Let me not mix my metaphors there. Joshua Gardner, he's now 27, almost 28 seconds behind the leader. So I guess that's not going to happen after all.
Yeah, it's looking like I think you can attribute it mostly to that damaged car, just making it difficult for him to be consistent. Right now, he's trying to put Tracy Reynolds another lap down, and the blue and black McLaren just ahead of him. That should be easy pickings, as now he moves aside down the backstretch and puts him a lap aside. But with Corey Peters and Brian Barnes, about that 8-second gap now, yeah, just under 8 seconds this time by the line. It's about 8 to 10 seconds usually when you have a spin that you'll lose. So I'm wondering, if if Corey Peters has this in his pocket, he has some room to make a few mistakes along the way. Obviously, he doesn't want to, but if he can just extend it a little bit farther, he could have enough room in his pocket to allow for some mistakes and still come away with the win.
Christopher Sherbert is into the pits from 14th spot. Now, hopefully, he'll have a good pit stop because if he doesn't, actually, he doesn't have to worry because there's nobody on the track who's behind him.
Absolutely. Well, except for Howard Wendell, but that'd be a very long pit stop.
That's 5 laps behind. I predict Sherburne will get out before Wendell gets there.
I think that's a pretty safe prediction this time, Bill.
Well, speaking of Wendell, he's having trouble getting around here right now as he's off the course.
He's in
trying
a
to get
bad
that car.
spot, too.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't pull out on the track.
Oh.
That was William Fletcher that almost ran into him. I'm not sure if we can get a replay of that. Get on board with William Fletcher about 30 seconds back here. Here we are, riding on board with Fletcher. We're going to see what he sees from his point of view. This is heading into turn 1. The action is going to take place in turn 3. Now we're inside the cockpit. And that car was stopped absolutely right on the racing line. Coming up over the hill, very blind. See, look, you can't see anything until right here, and then he pulls across the track, narrowly avoids him. I can't imagine William Fletcher is going to be sending a Christmas card to Howard Wendell.
I'm gonna think Howard Wendell needs to. I'm gonna pull him over and get out and make him recite the alphabet backwards or walk the white line. Man, he was all over the place trying to get back on the track, and even after he got back on the track,
Maybe he had the drink that you didn't have.
Yeah, that could be.
So we just hit the 1 hour mark as we look at the replay from on board Howard Wendell. So let's go to another brief break. We will come back after a moment, and then we will take you to the end of this 2.5 hours Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. Welcome back to the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta for the Northwest Majors. Currently, Corey Peters continues to lead the race after Jimbo Pfeiffer had dropped out, leading the majority of the first half. Right now, we are looking at Stephen Paulison in the McLaren. Now we switched to Corey Peters, our leader, who has a 7 to 8 second lead. It's been fluctuating over Brian Barnes. Barnes has made very little inroads, Sean, but doesn't have to make inroads.
No, he's sitting in good shape in the championship and doesn't really need to push too hard. Certainly, it would be nice to be at the top of the podium, but I think here today with this endurance race, I think you'd just be happy to get any part of that podium. And like we said, he's sitting real good with the points, so not critical for him to race too hard and possibly get that car off course and damage that thing. I mean, you do want to finish on the podium, and the best way to do that is to just keep running your race. He's running great, consistent laps. It's not like Corey Peters is just walking away from him. The distance is really been steady for, the last 15 laps or so. So I think Brian's in good shape. Corey's certainly in good shape. He's running really well, running really hard. The lap traffic seems to be moving over for him at this point, so he's in good shape. These two play their cards right, they'll definitely be on the podium. And there's Josh Gardner sitting back there in third, starting to put down some consistent laps. And,
that pretty girl next door has just knocked off 3 more seconds. Back to 24 seconds, getting my hopes up again. Now, in fourth place is John Richard Richard. I'm going with Richard. But we actually have a battle for position. If we can get to record, maybe an in-car shot of Kyle Murphy. He can actually see William Fletcher ahead of him. They're both 1 lap down, but it's a battle for 5th place. They're both running consistent laps there, but I think Murphy can actually see him.
Yep, we have hopped on board with Murphy, and just over the crests of the hill, he catches glimpses of the BMW of Fletcher. But Murphy in that roof still has a ways to go. In fact, it looks like he reels him in through the S's, interestingly. So he must be running him down. Bill, did you say if his times are a little bit faster, or what? Has he been reeling him in?
No, I think he's been gaining on him. I think Murphy's bringing him in slowly. They're really, that's the only battle on the track that I can find where the cars battling for position are actually inside of each other. I'm going to see if I can find something else to look at.
Well, while he's looking for that, it sounds like he's actually lost half a second, the information that we're getting, to William Fletcher. So I'm not sure if I've got that information right, or if William Fletcher has lost the 2.6 seconds to Kyle Murphy. So it sounds like Kyle Murphy lost the 2.6 seconds to Fletcher. We'll see this time by how far apart they are from each other. And let's see if we can get that information updated. Unfortunately, I'm not getting that, so it sounds like now we're hearing that he is losing more, so it's about 3 seconds, and he is off track into the wall. So, as the director gives us more grief about the commentator's curse, just a little bit of damage. Didn't look like it was too hard of a hit, but Sean, that doesn't surprise me too much. In fact, I'm surprised we didn't see more guys having trouble in that turn 3.
Yeah, well, we stayed on that and focused on it a little bit too long, and yeah, what happens? Bad mishap there.
And look at this. Stephen Paulison is actually going to take the position, I believe, or is this?
Well, I got good news and bad news. That was Murphy's in 6th and Paulison's in the 7th, and yes, Paulison did get around him. The bad news is Paulison is a lap behind those guys.
So Paulison still has some ways to go. He might catch him, though, because if that damage is severe, he could have to go in and get that repaired. Now, we don't know if he has taken his second stop. Let me check real quick.
No,
he has.
I think he just came out of the pit stops. In fact, I don't think timing and scoring is updated. That's why he looked a little farther ahead than he is. I actually think maybe he's in like 9th or 10th, but he just took his final pit stop.
Yep, I'm showing him with 2 stops here for Kyle Murphy in 6th. In fact,
no, I was talking about Paulison. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Paulison.
Okay. And Kyle Murphy is heading into the pits. So Murphy is going to get that repaired. And it looks like, let's see, where is Matthew Rogers? Rogers might jump him here, depending on how much And oh, look at this. We got a replay of Jim Packnan also out of turn 4 there. And is he still on track? No. So Packnan might have ended his day. Let's see if he can go back and get that fresh car.
Now, I'm looking at Tracy Reynolds. They're 3 laps, and it's hard to tell. Sometimes looks like they're next to each other, but they're actually 3 laps down. So never mind.
Well, Murphy does not have a free car apparently because he is sitting there getting it repaired, and there goes Matthew Rogers up into 6th now.
Yes, well, Sherburne is 5 laps down, and Murphy is 2 laps down, so it's going to be a little while, but there's another notch in Christopher Sherburne's belt.
Yeah, currently sitting in the 14th position. And he's got another lap before Wayne Hutchinson, so he does have to hope for these guys ahead getting some damage somewhere along the line or taking another stop. Speaking of taking another stop, I see that William Fletcher has 3 stops. Now, I'm not sure if that is entirely accurate or if my timing and scoring is just off, because he's sitting in 5th place. If he somehow managed to keep 5th place with 3 stops, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, it would be pretty impressive if that's the case, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how that sorts out. You know what, guys? Brian Barnes is starting to pick up a little bit on Corey Peters. It isn't over yet, guys. Barnes seems to be, I'm watching Peters, and he's been brutally consistent, so Barnes has just got to be running a better pace right now. In fact, his last lap was a couple of tenths faster than Corey Peters, so be looking out for this, but Brian Barnes is starting to make a little bit of hay here, guys.
It's about 6.5 seconds, and we have 45 minutes. So if he's able to be consistent on that and keep reeling him in a tenth of a lap at a time, he could still catch him before the end of this race. It's quite a long ways to go, even though we're in the very dying stages of this 2.5-hour race. So as we watch Corey Peters continue to lead around, he's going to take another lap by the line and head into lap 78. Brian Barnes now coming down the hill. Let's see what it is this time by when he crosses the line. It is 6.3 seconds, another 2 tenths off for him there. So slowly reeling him in as he goes on. Now, let me check real quick, because we do have some other series that this series runs, some other leagues, I guess you could say, that they would like us to mention. And I'm just going to look that up real quick here. Some reminders, obviously. Monday Night Road Series. It's run by Josh Gardner, actually, sitting in 3rd place right now. That is at 9 p.m. Pacific, if you're a member of the Northwest Club. Go check that out. Same thing with pretty much all of these. Grand National Series is on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Pacific. And then the Northwest Truck Tour is Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific. So also we have a World Cup reminder, which we are going to be broadcasting some of that here on GSRC. Can't wait for that. That is the 3rd round of qualifying on 10/18. So the 18th of October. And, excuse me. Yes, that's correct. The 18th of October. And then the tournament is on November 8th. So look out for that coming up in about a month's time.
Joe, are you done there with your plugs?
Yep, I'm fully done. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's take a look at 12th position, Jim Pankton. He's did I fall asleep, or he's in the pits right now, and he's been there for a long time.
Remember, he had problems coming into the S's a few laps ago. In fact, it looks like Sherburne might be gaining yet another lap on him here soon.
Right. That's another position. That's Sherburne's 13th position there. So I'm liking that. Well, of course, I don't like that, of course, for Pankton. I apologize to Pankton and his wife and his children and his extended family. But
his dog as well?
Yeah, his dog. But, of course, Christopher Sherburne, way to go, buddy. 13th, right there.
and interestingly, Howard Wendell is heading into the pits again. So from 15th, how many? Let me check to see how many stops he has at this point. 5 pit stops is what I'm seeing for Howard Wendell. So he's still out there plugging. He's in 15th. He's only one space down from Christopher Sherburne. Everybody else behind him is out of this race, I believe. So Wendell, give him credit for the Dory Award for today, Bill.
Yeah, I'm honestly not. It sounds like maybe I'm teasing these guys or making fun of them, but honestly, I love a guy who puts in 2.5 hours. I love what Wendell and Sherburne are doing. That's what makes these races great. If you only had guys that ran in the top 5, and if they weren't, they didn't care, these things wouldn't be any fun. So, my hat's off to those guys. I mean, I'm one of them.
Well, and one of the things that we should mention about endurance racing is with some of these, especially the more difficult ones, part of the pride is simply finishing. Another event that we broadcast, the Targa Virginia, known as one of the most brutal and difficult races in iRacing. There's actually like a badge for the forums that you can put on your signature that says I finished, and then they have the year Targa Virginia, just because it's that difficult to get to the end.
Yeah, and Sherburne, there he is, 13th position. He just crossed the finish line. Nice job. He's going to bring that car home, and that's without any fast repairs. He's kept it. I'd really like to look at how many incidents he has, because I bet you it's pretty clean.
And I'm actually checking to see how many stops Sherburne has done as well. I think he's only done the 2. Yes, he's done 2 stops.
Gardner off track again, guys. Gardner off track.
He's teasing me. He had just knocked it down to 23 seconds, and I was, how many?
Yeah,
and we'll have to jump
5
back.
Seconds there.
We're on the replay, but we have to jump back a little bit farther. This was coming through turn 5 here, and it looks like he just went wide. We're watching now, heading towards the S's. He's got a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him. That Canadian painted roof. Then up into that left-hander, drifting off, and then into the grass is definitely where you don't want to be. Wow, that was a fantastic catch from Gardner, Sean, to keep that thing out of the wall, because that snapped around instantly on him.
Yeah, it did. He was heading for imminent doom, and then saved that thing. And looks like Josh Gardner's still got a pretty good race in front of him here. Again, it's time to get back in there and focus for another. Or let's just say focus for as many laps as you can and avoid another mistake at this point. I mean, we're getting down to the end of this thing, and he's still looking at a podium finish as long as he can just stay in the race, keep his head in the game.
Absolutely. He's got nearly a lap on John Richard there. And I hate to break it to you, Bill, but your date is now 33 seconds away.
Yeah, I've given up on her. She's clearly not going to be going out with me. I've moved on.
And we've got 39 minutes left on the clock, just about getting ready to hit the half-hour to go mark. And these guys, that, that, Sean, is when it really gets difficult. You get into the final few minutes of these endurance races, and it starts to feel like, when you got a half hour to go, that's the length of some races, So
yeah,
it
sure.
feels like I'm close to the end, but I have that much more. It's mentally tough to be able to get to the end.
Oh, it's, in comparison to, let's say, NASCAR, I mean, it's like that last 50 miles of a 500-mile race. I mean, it's really time to lock in and go. The last 30 minutes in any endurance race, especially the longer ones, the 24-hour, the 12-hour ones, the 6-hour ones, you want your guy in the car. You want your driver, your guy that eats asphalt for a living. I mean, you want that guy in the seat. And these little 2.5-hour excursions, you better hope the guy in the seat is the guy who's really here to race. And I'd say at this point we know who those guys are. Let's see how they finish.
Absolutely, and with 83 laps on the clock right now, we have a few more to go, and Corey Peters at the moment has about an 8-second lead. Once again, he's been extending that over Brian Barnes. That could be traffic, and actually, speaking of traffic, Brian is working his way around Howard Wendell, who spins in turn 3, and Wendell gets hit. We have an accident between Wendell and Stephen Paulison.
Wow. What an unfortunate break for Paulison. Wendell, he's been in the way already a couple times tonight. Ill-advised, but that's a shame.
We're on the replay. We're watching Howard Wendell heading up into turn 3. This is admittedly a very tricky corner, but he's spun a number of times so far. The back end comes out on him. You can see our second place car gets by, and he starts to pull back out on the course. This is where you need what we call, Sean, the F3 box up.
Right.
And for those not familiar, as we watch the replay once again, the F3 box is if you hit your F3 button in iRacing, you see the 6 nearest cars to you on the little box, and it tells you how many seconds they are away. When you have a spin, it's critical that you look at that when re-entering the track to see if someone is coming. And yeah, from onboard Paulson, he just could not see him at all until about maybe less than a second before he hit him. So there was no time for him to react and try to avoid that. And Bill, I have to say, I'm with you. I like to see cars trudge through, get to the end, but the one time I feel like it's inappropriate is when a driver becomes a danger like that.
Yeah, now, I'll try to be both sides of the coin. I've made that mistake in iRacing, but I made it when I first joined the service. You just got to know you cannot pull across the track unless you know it's clear. It's a long race, you lose concentration, so I'm going to cut Howard a little slack, but oh man, I have little sympathy for that kind of mistake.
Well, I'm sure he wouldn't appreciate it, but I'm thinking maybe he's Howard the Duck for the way that he's kind of bombing in this race for now.
Yeah. Now the question is, how badly damaged was Paulson?
I was wondering that. He's continuing on. He is on the backstretch right now.
He is. He's got pretty significant damage on the right front. Well, I say significant. He's got damage on the right front. It's not affecting him right now. He looks to be putting down pretty good laps. I mean, his last lap was a 126. Not great, but not slow either. So he's still competitive to a point. But I think he's probably going to need to get a pit here. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he can make it. The damage doesn't look that bad now. I look a little bit closer.
As long as his car is handling well, and he seems to be taking these corners decently. Well, let's follow him for about a lap. We got the cameras on him. Excuse me.
I think I heard him say no problem, or was really understanding to Wendell when the accident happened. So maybe it's not as bad as we think.
That is a very understanding driver. I think I would have been a little bit more heated that late in the race. But, I was looking at the gap, and he's got about half a lap to 9th place, Steve Paulson does, who is Tracy Reynolds and the black and blue McLaren. So I believe that maybe he's just thinking, I've got the room, my car's handling okay, I'm just going to ride this out for the last half hour and not worry about that.
Yeah, probably not a bad strategy at all, actually. We are in that last half hour now, so we're just about officially we have the seconds ticking down. Boom, 30 minutes to go, guys.
I've been looking for a battle, and there's really not anything close. I think your battle for 4th and 5th is probably about as close as you can find, and that's probably, I don't have the timing and scoring in front of me, but I'm going to guess it's more like 5 or 6 seconds. Oh, no, maybe not.
We're hearing that we do have a close battle between Murphy and Rogers, actually.
Yeah.
Murphy and that white roof, and Rogers and the Halloween roof just ahead of him. This is for 6th and 7th, Bill. Excuse me, Halloween Z4.
Oh, let's get it official there. Yeah, Murphy's been, I think, running him down because I've been looking for battles all along, so I didn't see this before, so he must be closing in on him.
A mistake from Rogers. I bet he's regretting that we went and focused on this battle, and he loses the position. So Murphy now up into 6th.
I said earlier, maybe we should just stop broadcasting at this point. We're killing these guys tonight.
Well, we keep talking about Josh Gardner, and he keeps dropping back, so maybe we should shut up about Josh Gardner.
Yeah, and maybe we should quit giving Brian Barnes so much credit, because I see he's fallen off again and now almost 10 seconds behind.
Remember, he had to avoid Howard Wendell in turn 3 a little bit earlier, so I think some of that may have been him trying to avoid that Z4 that had spun on the track. So let's see what he is this time by. Oh no, he's actually lost more time, unless that was traffic in his way on that lap. Brian Barnes steadily losing it, maybe just trying to bring this car home. He does not need the win. Again, we reiterate, to win the championship, He only needs 10 points as long as Toby Butler doesn't show up next round. So if he continues on in second place, the championship could be Brian Barnes today.
Now, Joe, help me out here. I'm not remembering right now. Will Peters and Barnes, these guys need to pit again, or are they good?
Let's look. Let's see timing and scoring here.
Oh,
Peters has only pitted once. Barnes has only pitted once, is what I'm seeing. Josh Gardner has only pitted once. Same with John Richard. So our top 4 have only stepped into the pits once.
That's right, because those guys had that really, really long first stint. So it looks like they're going to go long, and then a little splash and go.
Which, we've talked about this in other series, Bill, that there are advantages to that. You have fresher tires at the end, and you can be a little bit more accurate with the fuel. You have a better understanding of your mileage, and there's less leeway. And speaking of which, Brian Barnes into the pits now.
He sure is. Here he comes down pit lane in that popsicle machine.
And Gardner is going to be coming up on him soon enough as he comes through the chicane. As we watch Brian Barnes head down at the speed limit. Now we switch to Josh Gardner. And Gardner is not coming in, so Gardner is going to move himself up into second place momentarily.
Yeah, and Corey Peters elected to stay out. Still our leader. Be interested to see what Corey's going to do here. Is he going to stay on it, keep running, and then open up a little distance, or is he going to duck in here this next time by?
Just to give you an idea of the gap of these top 3, Corey Peters is actually about to put John Richard down another lap. We would have no cars even 1 lap down at this point.
That's a nice pasting.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, here we go. Out of the chicane. What's Peters going to do here?
Let's see. No, he continues on.
He continues on, yes.
Those guys have been making incredible mileage. They went for quite a long time on that first stint. And we're hearing that Barnes is out of his pit stall. So we have 30 minutes left to go. Now we have finally hit that 30-minute mark, guys. So into the final 5th of this race as Josh Gardner works his way through the chicane. Is Josh Gardner going to pit this time? It looks like no. Josh Gardner is going to continue on. So that means he's going to inherit that second place officially this time by. There he goes. Our timing and scoring updates, and Brian Barnes is good to go to the end. Now, Corey Peters as he continues on. Now, I didn't see. I wasn't watching. Did Brian Barnes take tires on that one?
He did not take tires. We hear from our director. It'd be interesting to see if Gardner can stay out long enough to while Peters goes in. Maybe Gardner can lead a lap here.
I think I think it should be enough. I think the bogey time on the pit lane should allow him to lead a lap if he can stay out long enough. That's the big if there. Corey Peters, he's heading up towards that pit lane entry, and he heads in. Peters is in. So he obviously has figured out that Barnes has taken his stop, does not want to be jumped, even though it'd have to take quite a phenomenal change in times for him to get jumped. But with only about 2 laps difference between them, should be safe at this point unless he has a very bad stop.
Yeah, well, let's watch that exactly and see what kind of pit he's able to throw down here as, of course, he wants to stay in that lead spot.
And Gardner, if he continues on, will not be scored in the lead. And he does continue on, so Gardner is going to go by, but he's going to be in second place yet again because Peters crossed the line first. Where is Barnes? Barnes is on the backstretch right now. Peters is still in his stall stop, so Barnes has no worries at the moment. He should be coming just about up to the pit entry, I believe, when Corey Peters is going to leave. And as I say that, Peters is leaving. In fact, he's coming out just in front of John Richard, the other driver that we were waiting to pit, and he's a lap ahead of him. And where is our second place car? Brian Barnes just came on by. So Josh Gardner this time should take the lead next time by, but he'll lose it as soon as he stops in for his stop.
Little wiggle out of Gardner there, yeah.
Pretty girl she's gonna be in first place. I'm going to get a date with the pretty girl. Watch this. She's going to take the lead here.
And it'll be, I believe, the first time this race that he'll have led a lap if he gets to the line here.
Right. I imagine he's going to pit this time, so it's really if he can limp his car down pit lane across the start-finish line before Peters gets there.
He should be able to easily, I believe, because the pit limiter line is just about where the start-finish line is, so there's really not much time lost heading in. Let's see if he heads into the pits. No, he continues on for yet another lap. So, regardless, officially going to get a lead lap out on track. Josh Gardner now in the lead. Let's see where Corey Peters is in relation to him. In fact, we'll start to get an idea this time by the line where Peters and Barnes is if he gained any time in the pit stops. And we're hearing, it looks like 17.7 for Corey Peters behind Gardner. Brian Barnes comes across the line. Let's see what the gap is between those two. It's about 7 seconds, so nothing gained, nothing lost. Actually, no, I take that back. It was about 9 seconds before, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah, about 10 seconds, yeah. So it looks like Barnes picked up a little bit there. About 3 seconds or so. Now, if I'm Josh Gardner, I'm staying out. I'm running it dry until it coughs and dies. I'm not coming in.
Well, he can't run it until it coughs and dies, because then he's going to really lose time to these guys, that's for sure. So I'm pretty sure Josh Gardner is going to be eyeing his gauge and figuring it out.
Go big or go home, Josh. Stay out there, Bubby.
So down into the chicane for Josh Gardner. And
One
then
more lap.
through the right-hander. Let's see if he stays out. Up over the crest. This is where you head into the pits. And he does indeed head into that tricky right, left, right, down into the pit lane. So if he has a spare car, actually, yes, he should have a spare car since they get 2 spares. He should be totally fresh this time by.
Yeah, well, let's think about this. If your car's damaged and you're going to get a fresh car, why drive it so long? Why not pit at your first possible chance to get that car fixed?
Well, I suggested that earlier in the race, and I'm just as confused as you. If he was struggling, I guess he thought we didn't really look at his lap times. Maybe he thought that he wasn't losing as much time as he was when his car was not damaged. So decided it was worth it to just grit it out and go as long as he could.
And I can confirm that Exide battery machine of Joshua Gardner is looking clean and straight once again, boys.
21-second pit for that black and blue number 131 machine for Josh Gardner as he is back out on track on lap 91 with 25 minutes left to go. And just think, guys, if we had Jimbo Pfeiffer still in here, we'd be seeing an even more enormous gap and even more cars a lap down.
Yeah, no kidding. I think back to that, and what a shame to lose Jimbo Pfeiffer there. Tough break for him. Had to have been frustrating. I guess that's why we didn't see him make an attempt to come back. But hey, hats off to Josh Gardner, man. He's really, he's earned every bit of this. I mean, good strategy by him, but it looks like he's secured himself a podium spot as long as he can keep that car on the track.
Okay, boys, Barnes has got it down to 6.1 seconds behind Peters for the lead. So now, here we go. Now this is when, let's see what Barnes got in him.
Trying to chase him down, obviously closing in on that gap, and if he's going to do it, now's the time. Only 23 minutes left on the clock. So as we watch Josh Gardner in third, the second and first place cars are the one. Actually, I think these are the closest on track out of everybody at the moment.
Yeah, 23 minutes to go. That's about 0.2 a minute. I don't know, that math is horrible. Never mind.
Well, let's see. They're doing about 119 laps. So, trying to do some quick math. That's about 79 seconds a lap. So 23 minutes is 23 times 60. Anybody got a calculator?
Let me put it this way. Barnes needs to go. He needs to go now. How's that?
Yes, absolutely. That's the most succinct way to put it.
But guys, he was 10 seconds back before the pit stop. He was, I think, about 7 seconds, we decided, when he came out after the pit stop. Now he lost a tenth of a second this lap. Another guy who's disappointing me.
They have 17 and a half laps to go on the clock, according to my calculator. So if they keep this pace up, so let's see, what would that be for six seconds or so? So he'd have to... No, wait, that's 2.9 seconds a lap is incorrect, I'm pretty sure. So it'd be 6 divided by 17. This is why I'm not a math major.
It's leap year, man. Take that into account. Well, I guess it's not leap year.
Okay, so if he's going to catch him, he needs to catch him by 0.3 a lap on average.
All right, well, that's doable.
It's definitely doable, but he hasn't had the pace that's significantly faster. So he's going to have to really push, I think, to do it, and he's going to have to hope that Corey isn't pushing.
Now, if you guys are listening out there on the stream, this is the director, Giancarlo. If you guys can help our commentators with these numbers, we will give away a free car.
Contact Twitter. Contact us through Twitter at GSR Channel or in the comments on YouTube. And Giancarlo's going to pay for that car out of his own pocket, by the way.
That must have really caught Giancarlo's dander up there for him to actually come on the broadcast.
Well, we figured it out eventually. I'm just not a math major, thank you. I'm a film major. You have to do everything in 24 frames or 60 frames per second for me to understand
That's it. How many frames behind is he?
Yes, there we go.
Well, guys, Corey Peters is really running a strong race right now. I think it kind of goes without saying. He's been real strong this whole second half of the race. I don't think Barnes has got enough to just get to him. The movement between laps it's ever so slight, and Peters is just dialed in right now, looking really, really good. Doesn't have any traffic in front of him. Clean track in front, clean track behind, on his way to a victory here at the Petite Le Mans.
Yeah, and with Howard Wendell in the pits, that takes away that factor as well. So, sorry, Howard. That's my last shot I take at you, buddy.
In fact, he is currently the last car on that is, I don't want to say out on the track, but still in the server at the moment. Jim Panknin is just a few laps ahead of him, and by just a few, I believe that's about 12 or 13 laps he's ahead of him. And then quite a few up is Christopher Sherburne, who's actually... we talk about Christopher Sherburne, but remember, he's in a slower car, and yet he is only 5 laps down, so he is not doing too bad. He has been incredibly consistent out there in that Ford GT.
Well, first in class, if you want to look at it that way.
There you go. Absolutely. Well, speaking of class and consistency, Corey Peters. Now, I was trying to remember how exactly he got that lead back from Barnes, because remember that Peters had a slight mistake, and Barnes worked himself up into the lead momentarily, and then Peters got the lead back. Now, I'm trying to remember exactly how that went down, but other than that one mistake, Peters has been nearly flawless for this race. We haven't really seen him put too many wheels wrong out there, and that, I think, is what is getting him the victory. A little bit of luck came into it, of course, Bill, with that internet problem.
And we got a car that just spun right in front of Peters there.
That's Buffo, actually, off track in his roof. And we see him actually re-entering just over the hill.
That was a close call for our leader, Corey Peters, who, honestly, we were talking about what might have happened in the pits and how he'd gotten that time back. I think Peters took a little bit less fuel. It looked like Barnes had gone for a full tank there, and I think Peters didn't take quite as much, so that might be the difference.
Oh, something happened. Brian Barnes is now 4.8 seconds back from Corey Peters. What happened to Peters?
I'm watching Peters. I'm not quite sure what happened. Let me scroll back here a little bit and see what's going on, but I don't know what happened unless Brian had the lap of the night.
I wonder if it was Buffo spinning in front of him that maybe caused him to check up just a little bit just to be safe, and Barnes maybe gained ground there. It was about a second, so if he just had a little bit of a lift through that chicane, that could have caused it. So we were watching the replay there, see if we could find something, but doesn't seem to be anything that happened, so we have to maybe attribute it to Corey Peters taking it easy with a car spinning in front of him, knowing that he's got a gap, and he's got 17 minutes, so he has the ability to just take it easy and not do anything risky.
And it looks like my push-to-talk button is stuck, so I'll try not to cough now, guys.
It'll be reminiscent of our times with Kevin Brown as director.
Hopefully the dogs won't bark and the phone won't ring, but it's either have me on the mic all the time or I got to go and try to reboot, so I'll see if I can make it.
I think we'll work with it. So, now it is up to 5.5 seconds. Was it 5.4 last time?
Yeah, I went back and looked. I don't know what happened there. I really don't. I have no explanation for why Barnes closed the gap on Peters other than just Barnes put down a really, really hot lap there.
Nah, I think I feel pretty confident that Buffot's spin caused Peters to check up just a little bit and give some time away. Because at this point, he's come nearly 2.5 hours. He doesn't want to try and charge in if he sees a car spun. Or, his spotter will be in his ear saying, that there's a car stopped on track ahead. So he could have lifted because of that. There's a number of reasons that he possibly could have given that time away. Now it's down to 5.3, however.
Yeah. He had been closing even before the Buffon spin. He had it down under, just got it down to 5.9 seconds. He had knocked off about a half a second and they both ran clean laps. So I think I'm going to tell you that he has a chance just to keep the viewers interested here.
Good call, Bill. Good call.
We are at lap 99 now that these guys are on. They've completed 98. So we are looking at just ticking over that 100 lap mark, and those on the oval side are going, so 100 laps, and those on the road those on the road side are going, wow, 100 laps around any road course except for maybe Lime Rock is quite a feat.
Well, and that's 100 laps without a driver change.
Yes, that too. And no cautions.
Yeah, and no cautions, exactly. We translate that to the race we saw yesterday. At Road Atlanta, no one driver ran 100 lap stint.
Exactly. It's a long time to be out there. And right now, Corey Peters ticks it off now into lap 100 for Corey Peters, and just about hovering that gap. And we've got a lapped car just getting out of the way. That was Christopher Sherburne going another lap down.
No problem.
Yeah, my hat's off. My hat is off to every one of these guys that finished this race. Because 2.5 hours. Let's not even talk about the time they practiced and qualified prior to this race, dialing everything in. My hat is off to all of these guys that finished this race. It is a long day, man. I don't care what you're doing. That's a long day in the seat and a long day up on that wheel trying to navigate your way around this wonderful track. At really, really high rates of speed.
And you make a good point about the qualifying practice, because that qualifying session was for a full hour, and they had 2 hours of practice. And I almost guarantee you there had to have been some guys that were there for most of that time trying to get their laps in and perfect their line around this track.
Yeah. Brian Barnes just came over the mic and said, anybody know how much time is left? I don't know if it was a desperation or he was trying to do the math like we were.
Well, I can tell you they can check it with the F1 key inside their cockpit, so they are able to check that accurately inside the car. And I love looking at Brian Barnes' car. One of the new features, as I saw some smoke in the pit lane, so someone must have had an accident recently. If you look at Brian Barnes' car, one of the new features on iRacing is the buildup of dirt and grime on these cars over time, and you can see on the nice close-up shot, look at that, all over. So these cars have been out there and been in the wars, but despite that, not a scratch on that car as he goes to put a lap on that Ford GT.
And let me tease you guys, Barnes has it under 5 seconds, 4.9.
The plot thickens, Bill.
Oh,
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. The plot does thicken. I mean, hey, you know, all Peters has got to do is run into a problem with a little bit of lap traffic, or make a mistake himself, and Barnes is in this thing.
Yeah, this is when the TV show, the screen goes black and it says "to be continued," and you didn't realize it was a 2-part show. But yeah, I don't know if Barnes, he's closer than he's been in a long time. Let's put it that way.
Well, who shot JR? We're going to find out eventually once Corey Peters crosses the line. He is into lap 102 now, and 12 minutes to go. So only about, I believe, that'd be something like 8 or 9 laps. And then they are done with this 2.5-hour Petit Le Mans around Road Atlanta.
Barnes dropped a couple tenths there. And hey, congratulations to Joe Peak for a 1980 reference. Way to go, Joe.
I have to admit, the only reason I know that is because of the Simpsons spoof.
Okay.
Well, I know who shot JR both times, okay?
Okay. Oh.
Well, right now we continue to watch Corey Peters in the yellow and white number 107 BMW. He has led, I believe, by this point for most of the race. And as we said before, quite flawlessly, although I'm finding some wood. We've had a bad habit of cursing racers as he comes up upon lap traffic. That is Steve Paulson, who's had his fair share with trying to lap cars. I'm sure he's going to want to be polite and let him by here. Not through the chicane. Well, he's not holding them up yet, so he's got some time. I have to imagine down the front stretch. Yeah, he's getting on the radio. He's letting them know he's going to let him by. And watch him just lift a little bit. There he goes, letting him take the inside. And on he goes. So another lap down for Steve Paulson, who is in 7th place. So top 10 finish out of 21 starters for Steve Paulson. Not a bad day for that McLaren.
And, it's been a long time, but wasn't Paulson, that was the car that, that's the one that
ran
got
into
collected, right? Yeah.
Wendell, yeah, and he's still going, and pretty strongly, you have to admit. In fact, he is the highest McLaren at the moment. In fact, I'm trying to see who the highest non-BMW is on the track, and it looks like, I want to say Kyle Murphy. Kyle Murphy in 6th in a roof.
Yeah, that would be right.
10 minutes to go now, guys. Congratulations as well to you guys here in the booth. 2.5 hours out here, and I think we've done a fair job. Not trying to pat our backs too much, but it is a long time to be talking about these cars, and they have certainly given us a pretty good show for most of the time.
Oh, we did 361 laps or something like that at Darlington not too long ago, and that was a brutal stretch. But this has been a lot of fun. Great race. Who knows? Brian Barnes may still make a race out of it yet as we get into the closing minutes of this race. But this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, in fact, it's down to 4.6 now, Bill.
There you go. Hey, for our viewers at home, Joe Peak. Yeah, man, this guy has endurance. He drove, 200 miles to the Indy 500, watched the entire Indy 500, drove 200 miles home, and then broadcast an iRacing Indy 500. That was impressive. What a day.
Actually, I've done one better, not to toot my own horn here, but I ran the iRacing Indy 500 one year on Saturday. Then I drove, it's about a 2-hour drive back when I lived in Cincinnati to see the real thing, drove back that night and broadcast. So I did 1,500 miles virtually, I guess you could say.
Jeez.
But Bill, you should give yourself some credit as well. This is your third race to commentate this weekend, so you've put your fair share of time in.
Yeah, it gets easier. This one, I actually honestly forgot. I got a text from Joe, said, "Hey, you're up." Oh, it's probably good for the viewers that I didn't have notice, or I would have come with some inane historical reference that wouldn't have been.
Oh, the viewers look forward to your historical references as well as those of us in the booth.
Prep time is not my friend. Let me put it that way.
Well, you still do an impressive job even without much warning, that's for sure. And doing an impressive job out there is Brian Barnes sitting in second, looking to wrap up this championship today. 8 minutes to go, and he can have that thing in his hands as long as his competitor, Toby Butler, does not show up in a few weeks' time when we go to Bathurst in the V8 supercar.
Yeah.
Let's find what we're doing. We have a minute before the race ends. Let's find somebody we haven't covered. Give them a little screen time. Let's look at who have we not put on the screen very much here today. Let's pick somebody. What do you say? Who do you think?
You know, let's. I was going to say Matthew Rogers, but he's got some screen time in that Halloween car. Christopher Beaufay. Yeah, I've lost his name.
Beaufay.
Beaufay. Thank you. Beaufay. It's been a long day.
Looks like pretty good. I guess we've got most of it. If we didn't get you enough time on there, sorry, guys.
Tell you what, while we're looking at William Fletcher, what about Wayne Hutchinson? We haven't shown a whole lot of Wayne Hutchinson. We've had brief periods. He's sitting in 11th, just outside the top 10.
There we go.
And he's actually on the same lap as Christopher Beaufay, but he's got damage to his left side and a little bit to the nose as well, it looks like.
Yeah, I see him at home after this race is over. He's at home with his wife and his 6-year-old daughter, and they've got the internet up on their big screen and they're watching. So, little Sally, there's your daddy in that car, sweetheart.
And Wayne Hutchinson currently on lap. Let's see, what lap is he on? He is on lap 101 right now.
Yeah, he's on lap 101, making his way around in that Team Canada roof there.
And our director has decided to give some screen time to Wendell just a little bit longer. And then we switched to Jim Packman. And Jim, you got to give Jim credit. Another guy who's continuing on out there with some severe damage, had some unfortunate moments, but he's still out there. And he's on lap 92, so unfortunately I don't think he's going to be able to crack the 100 lap mark, but look at that right front, just not looking in shape. Still, he's putting those laps in at 14th.
A Boeing and Seahawks machine. Now, our director, Giancarlo, is actually from the Northwest. Is Boeing still up there, GL? Oh, okay, I thought they left up there, so. The Northwest is... I'm sorry. I'm talking to GL about Boeing, and he actually lives right next door to Boeing. He can hear the engines when they're putting the planes together. I don't know what they do with Boeing now.
Testing them.
Testing them. But the Northwest is a beautiful place. My wife and I have spent many a time in Vancouver.
Oh, we've got a pit stop from Christopher Sherburne actually right now. Is this his second stop?
Nah, I think it's his third.
So it's his third stop.
Uses up a lot of gas there.
And he is 6 laps down at the moment, sitting in 13th place. But even though he's taken a third pit stop, he is not under threat. Jim Pankton is another 6 or 7 laps behind him. So
now, Sherburne works at Boeing. I think he's a technician or an engineer there. So he is probably he's coming out. I was thinking that maybe he figured that nobody could catch him and his day was done. But now he's going to come out. He's going to finish this.
Yeah. I hear he tests the pigeon tester to see when they get sucked into the engines how much damage they do.
Maybe we should send these pigeon test. Maybe we should send these guys some type of contact information they can give us some, so I don't have to make up these facts. I don't actually think Wayne Hutchinson has a little 6-year-old daughter named Sally or any of that.
So apologies. We have to leave that to Kevin Brown when he shows up. But in the meantime, 4.8 seconds between Brian Barnes and Corey Peters with 4 minutes to go, unless he can run him down by a second a lap, and that's not unheard of if Corey Peters gets some damage. This is not looking likely for Brian Barnes.
Well, I think the only race left right now is Corey Peter going to catch Josh Gardner and put a lap on him. There's only just a few minutes left, but he's making ground on him, and he can see him up the straightaway there.
Oh, to be that close. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink for Brian Barnes. Just can't quite close that gap. You can see it. He can get a second win. He has one win in this series this year, but he is not going to be with a win today if things stay as they are. 3 minutes to go now as up over the hill goes Corey Peters and ticks off yet another lap and starts lap 109.
You know, it's really too bad that Barnes, had got behind Peters, because he's paced him the whole way, unless Peters is just toying with him and only racing as fast as he needs to. Maybe he just says 5 seconds is good enough, and if it gets under 5 seconds, he picks up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, remember, those two were in order. I believe it was third and fourth earlier on at the start of the race, and very close for a long time. In fact, almost the entire race. It wasn't until, I want to say, the first pit stop that they started to get some space to each other. But regardless, those two have been just about exactly the same pace this entire race, and that explains it. And we were talking about Josh Gardner and his pace as well. He is now down to 1 minute and 14. In fact, that means he's about to get lapped by Peters. We could see only 2 cars on the lead lap at the end of this race.
And guys, I may have a battle for you. Am I right? Is Richard and Fletcher within shouting distance here?
They are, but Fletcher's going to have to really close that gap. You can see Fletcher on your screen in the BMW in that number 28 machine, and he has got quite a gap. In fact, he's farther apart, I think, than Barnes and Peters, so I'm not sure that is he. We're hearing that he's catching, though. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, sometimes in these long races, you lose perspective, because anybody who can see each other, you say, "Oh, we got a battle." But I think he's running them down. I think Fletcher's got a shot at him.
Yeah, it's now 6 seconds between Barnes and Peters. Barnes either is backing off or Peters is picking it up. But we're riding on board with Fletcher in that 5th position, looking to see if he can change it to a top 4 before this race is out. We've got only a minute left to go. I think we're going to get one more lap. We should get the white flag this time by.
Yeah, Peters just got around Pank and continues his assault on this track. Going to make his way around Shelburne now, too. Shelburne kind of moves over down to the inside there. And here comes Peters, still going hard.
And look at this. Josh Gardner has got to be thanking his lucky stars we will get the white flag this time by. And Peters is just going to be about a few seconds shy of lapping Gardner. So Gardner is going to complete every lap of this race. You have to excuse me for a second. I lost my screen for a moment, but I'm coming back now.
No, that's okay. I've got it here for you. Corey Peters, continuing here on this, what's going to be this final lap here, heading down through the S's. Corey's looking strong. Got that car right on the berms there, and
guys,
and we got a car off. Whoa, Joshua Gardner off the track,
and John Richards is in the pits.
So I take back my words. Commentator's curse once again. Josh Gardner is not going to complete every lap of this race, I guess. He will technically, I guess.
Yeah, he'll get there. But Richards is in the pits. He's lost 5th place.
Interesting.
He was in 4th, and Fletcher has caught him. I don't know why he's in there.
So
he's in there a long time.
Some mysterious circumstances, but let's jump back to Corey Peters, because he has the chicane and one more corner to go after that. Heads cleanly through. It's about 6.3 seconds last time by the line. Going to be probably about the same, but Corey Peters, after 2.5 hours, comes out ahead at the Petit Le Mans and wins round 11. Brian Barnes, now coming down the hill, is going to claim the championship here and comes home in 2nd place. Meanwhile, Josh Gardner did lose his lap and unfortunately went a lap down in the last lap after that spin. He completes the podium. And with that, everybody should be just about finished. Now, we're not sure what happened to poor Richard, and he's losing more laps, actually. He's gone down to 6th.
I think I went back and rewound. I think he had either fell asleep or his wheel went dead. And he just, down the straightaway, he just drifted into the wall.
Possible hardware failure. That is some heartbreak. Yep. And we're looking at Josh Gardner cutting across the track. You're not really supposed to go across there, even after the race, but I guess he is no one to run into on this one. And John Richard is getting on the text chat saying he can't believe he crashed 2 laps from the end. So, with that, everybody seems to have crossed the line. Let's go to break. We'll have some short interviews afterward to give you the unofficial results. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Road Atlanta, where we just watched round 11 in the Northwest Majors. It was the Petit Le Mans, 2.5 hours around this road course down in Georgia, and in the end, Corey Peters came out on top in first. Brian Barnes claimed the championship, supposedly. We'll see next round. By taking second place, Josh Gardner rounds out the podium a lap down after many mistakes. William Fletcher came home in fourth. Kyle Murphy in fifth. John Richard, after a late race wreck, was moved down to sixth. Stephen Paulison finished seventh despite some damage to his car. Tracy Reynolds in eighth. Matthew Rogers in ninth. Christopher Beaufet in 10th. Sean?
Yeah, and thanks, Joe. And Christopher Beaufet there, you said in 10th. And 11th, Ray Fournier in 11th. Wayne Hutchison in 12th. And in 13th place, Christopher Sherburne. Nice effort for Christopher in that GT40. In 14th, Jim Pankin. In 15th, Howard Wendell. Tough race for Howard. Not a real smooth run for him today, but there's always the next race. And in 16th, Aaron Stowe. 17th, Ray Nelson. Very unfortunate race for Jimbo Pfeiffer, who we saw lead practically the whole first half of this race until he disconnected. In 19th, Ryan Jones. In 20th, Randy Webster. In 21st, Carl Burke. In 22nd, Ryan Huff. And finishing out the field in 23rd, 111 laps down, Bruce Lawson.
And I believe Ryan Huff and Bruce Lawson did not start drivers, so hence why they were so many laps down. We have a few drivers to talk to. Of course, first up is Corey Peters, our winner. After that, Corey, 2.5 hours is a long time. I know this is probably a duh question, but are you beat?
I am most definitely beat.
It was an impressive show. You had one mistake that handed away the position of Brian Barnes earlier in the race, but after that, you looked absolutely flawless out there. How was it trying to navigate all that traffic with so many cars a lap down?
It was pretty busy. I mean, it felt like every time I came up on somebody, they made it a little exciting every single time, so kept it interesting.
We saw a lot of BMWs that were up front in this race. Do you think there were advantages to having the Bimmer out there at Road Atlanta, or were the cars pretty even?
I found the cars to be pretty even. It's just I find the Bimmer's the one that's I feel the most comfortable in. Although I have a special spot for the McLaren as well, so I don't know. I switch back and forth.
All right. Well, you should be able to slot yourself a little bit higher in both championships, although you're obviously not in competition for them. Next round is going to be at Bathurst, in a very difficult, notoriously difficult car. Are you going to be there, and how do you fancy trying to work your way around that street course?
I'll try to be there. Unfortunately, it's also the day of the race, so I'm trying to decide if I get to watch it live or if I'll be there. So we'll see what happens, but no matter what, I mean, that track and that car combination is just lots of fun and just leads to some really good racing.
Well, you gave us some good racing today. Again, congratulations and impeccable job out there on track.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we are going to talk to Brian Barnes, the second place finisher, and Sean is going to ask him a few questions.
Well, hey there, Brian. Great race for you today. Nice to be on the podium, pop a little champagne, and wrap up a championship. How's that sound?
I would love to wrap up a championship. I didn't know anything about drop weeks or anything, so I was kind of confused with that.
Well, let's just say our money's on you right now, and I think it's pretty good money.
Great. I already got myself a silver bullet popped open here, and had a lot of fun on that ride. Didn't expect a top three at all.
Well, it was a really nice run. You know, we were there towards the end of the broadcast. I guess the last 10 to 15 laps, we really wondered if you were going to be able to get to him and maybe make a move and win this thing.
I tried hard. If I had the Fred Flintstone foot cam, you would have saw me pedaling as hard as I could, but it couldn't get there.
Well, it did sure look like you were pedaling pretty hard there at the end. when we saw you dip below 5 seconds, we all begin to wonder, wow, does he have a legitimate shot to get up there and make him nervous? But hey, again, a great day for you. Just real quickly, I mean, how many hours did you put in today, just out of curiosity?
In today? Oh, I just today I only just joined up out of when the session opened about 3 o'clock. So just about an hour and a half worth of practice, I guess.
Well, hey, again, thank you. Great race. I'll wish you in advance the very best in your championship aspirations here. But thanks again, and thanks for putting on a really, really good show for us tonight.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know what happened to Jimbo, but I got to thank him for the setup. Made that BMW get around the track pretty good.
Well, best of luck to you here in the end of the series, okay? Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Up next, we have a driver that Bill has been eager to talk to, and that would be Josh Gardner, who finished third on the podium today. Bill?
All right, Josh. Well, let's start with, first of all, congratulations on a podium. But man, you broke my heart time after time. You got behind, and I really thought you had the pace to get up to the leaders. You keep cutting it down, and then what would happen? Next thing I see, you're back like 25 seconds behind. You get it back up to like into the teens, and then you go back again. What was going on back there?
You pretty much just summed up all my disappointment for this race. I had the pace. Jimbo and I we're running some of the upcoming endurance races together, so I made a last-minute change to go to the Z4 since that's what we're going to be running together as a team moving forward. And my strategy in terms of my stints was just way too long. I was burning through the tires, and I should have gone with more of a 24-gallon strategy, and that hosed me. I knew I had the pace to catch Brian, and I was watching Brian catch Corey. So I knew if I could get to Brian, Corey shouldn't have been a problem, but the tires just kept coming off, and I'm inherently impatient when it comes to this, and I spun the car way too many times.
Yeah, now, was your car damaged at the end? And if so, why did you wait so long to take that last pit stop? Why not come in earlier and get that thing fixed up quicker?
It's twofold. My car wasn't damaged, but when we made the first stint, the first pit, I caught a bunch of time on Brian, and I don't know how I did, but I thought that I could be in and out of the pits much faster than Brian, and that was going to catch me some of the time that I missed. Unfortunately, I didn't realize how bad my tires were, and I elected to not take tires on the second stop because I knew it was the only way I was going to have a shot at taking second. As soon as I came out and realized that I made a grave mistake, I just said, okay, I got to make sure I don't put the car into the wall because I'm ice skating at this point.
And then finally at the end. So now I'm disappointed. Clearly you're not going to get to the leaders. All right. So I'm saying, all right, all we're going to do is finish on the lead lap. And then, gosh darn it, you spin it on the last lap.
I didn't care, actually. I was sitting there, and I was going to brake on the straightaway anyways and let Corey pass me so I didn't have to do another lap. At that point, I was frustrated and done. Will was a good lap behind me down still. There was no chance of losing my spot. I just wanted the race to be over. Super frustrated about the race. I mean, I'm just focused on next week at Bathurst at this point.
That's the way to get it over sooner and not lose a position. Hey, well, it was fun watching you, and Bathurst will be great, so we'll see you there.
Thanks, guys.
Before you go, Josh, I have one question. Would you be interested in dinner with Bill?
No, we're not going to dinner. You've broken my heart. I'm done with you. You are dead to me now.
Well, that's brutal. Well, at least I always have Giancarlo to fall back on, and as always, I'm sure Giancarlo was the star of the show for this broadcast, as always. So
he certainly made an appearance. Let's do one more interview.
Thanks,
he wasn't
guys.
a driver. Thank you, Josh. He wasn't a driver today, but he is the league organizer. Let's talk to Mike Willett really quick. Mike, this was a 2.5-hour event, one of the longer ones in this series, and these guys put on a show. What are your thoughts about today?
Oh, I thought it was a great race. I was happy to see we at least had more than 20 guys. It was really disappointed to see Jimbo jump out. After that incident. I know he was frustrated, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he couldn't have, even with the toe, come back and maybe challenge for it. But also real happy for Brian. looks like even with the 15-point drops he's going to take today, the 40 points he picks up will pass Toby. So we'll see. We'll see if Toby shows up at Bathurst.
I was going to say, are you going to encourage Toby to try and fight for that championship, despite it being at one of the most difficult tracks and difficult cars?
Well, that's really a catch-22 because he doesn't race road, but given what you just said, that it's one of the most difficult combinations that we're going to race, if not the most. I don't know how big the field's going to be. Obviously, we pay down 15 spots, and if Brian shows up, obviously he's going to have to take another 15-point drop. That's his next drop week is a 15er again. So he would still have to score 5th or better to gain any points. So obviously, I'll encourage him to join, but we'll see.
All right. Before I let you go, you've got some other series in the Northwest Majors, or well, not the Northwest Majors, but the Northwest Club. You want to give those a quick shout?
Absolutely. So every Monday night, Joshua Gardner runs our Monday Night Road Series. He switches it up, different cars, different, very casual series, but very cool. Starts at 9 o'clock Pacific. Then we've got our Grand National Series, which is an oval series, really rookie friendly. We run the national car on larger tracks, and so that's also 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. And then Saturday night, Chris Beck, our club manager, runs our truck series. So yeah, we got a lot of activity going on, and of course encourage all of the Northwest Club guys to show up for the World Cup qualifier in 2 weeks. And of course we'll be in the tournament, and I know you guys are broadcasting around, so I'm excited for that.
And don't forget, for those Monday nights, we have our own Kevin Brown of GSRC, who will be doing a Let's Drive, so you can ride on board with him. Just be ready for some possible profanity probably along the way, so don't miss that. Thanks for talking to us, Mike, and also thank you for organizing this league as we kick off our ending thank yous for this broadcast. Also, thanks to iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Giancarlo, and Sean. Great job sticking it out in the booth tonight. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Thanks goes out to Dougie Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it on Twitter at Eric Ekholm. Additional thanks go out to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcast. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com. Including, he has an album coming out on the 9th of October. It is called Floating Rooms, Don't Miss Out. He does a lot for our broadcast with his music.
It doesn't come in 8-track cassette, I found out. I'm really bummed about that.
Unfortunately, no, there are no hard copies. You can only get it online digitally at Bandcamp, so go check out his website. Also, our next race, as we keep mentioning, is Bathurst, the finale in the V8 Supercars, Sunday, October 12th at 5:45 p.m. Pacific. Don't miss it. Championship is supposedly wrapped up, but it might not be. We'll have to see if Toby Butler shows up. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.